This is case number 516 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Thomas, it is your claim that the defendant's son broke your son's nose.
Correct.
You want to tell me what happened?
Well, I was walking down the street because my friends said they were going to play football that day. None of them were out there. And then Tyra and Jatisse, the two girls that were like friends that lived down the street, and they were yelling out the window. And I didn't understand what they're saying. I was like, well, I'm gonna go home. Then Joe started coming to me, and he was like, what's up, what's up? And then he hit me in my nose. And then I said, I don't want to fight you, and then he hit me in my nose, and it started to bleed.
So were you alone at the time he came up to you?
Yes.
Okay, now let's come to you, Ms. Thomas. How did you find out about your son's nose?
Well, the young lady, Tyra, is one of the girls that was with him, came running up to my...
I thought you said you were alone.
But they were coming out the door at the time. So as he walked up to me, they were coming out the door.
So one of the girls came to your house?
Yes, and she came running up to the door saying, hurry, hurry, Austin's bleeding, he needs you down the street. So I went running down there, and I saw him with his head back like this. There was blood everywhere, all over his clothes, on the ground. And I ripped off my tank top and put it to his face, and I asked him, do you know who did this to you? And they said, it's Joe, and he's right around the corner playing basketball. I said, take me to him. Take me to him right now. And I said, so you're the one who broke my son's nose. And he said, I ain't got time for your drama, B. And started going off on me. Like I was bothering his game of basketball when he just broke my son's nose. I said, so what, you just are going to break my son's nose and act like it's nothing? He's like, you. You know, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stand out here and argue with a bunch of kids. So I went home, I picked up the phone, I called 911. The cops came out, took him home to his cousin. I had him delivered in a cop car.
Now I'll hear from you.
At first I was walking home from school, and then my best friend asked me did I want to play basketball. So we was over his house playing basketball. His sister Tyra told him that some little boy around the corner was messing with her. So we went around the corner, and as we was about to fight him, I stepped in the middle and I told him not to hit him. Then he was talking stuff, and he called
Who's he was talking stuff?
Austin.
Did you know him from before?
No, never seen this.
So what kind of stuff was he talking?
He was like, I'm not scared of him, I'm not scared of him. And then he called me a B, and then I just took off my jacket and I hit him twice.
Do you think that's okay?
If I felt like if I wouldn't hit him, then he would hit me.
But he didn't hit you.
I felt like he was about to.
What made you think he was about to hit you?
Because the way he looked at me.
The way he looked at you.
The way he looked at me.
Now, after you hit him twice in the nose, you went back to play basketball.
Yes.
And then his mother came up to you. She just told me that you cursed at her.
No.
Yes, you did.
Well, she was cussing at me. She actually threatened me.
Well, how did she threaten you?
She said she would get a 15 or 16-year-old on me, and she said she'll kill me. That's when she stepped down the street like she was going to hit me, but my best friend, he stepped in front of me and told her to go on because she's not hitting me.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Were you arrested?
Well, took it home, yeah.
After you were taken home, did you have to appear in juvenile court?
No.
Why didn't you press charges against him?
I did press charges, Your Honor, but they were telling me even if I filed him and received a misdemeanor on him for the assault charges, the only pain and suffering or anything that I could get was $300.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about teaching him a lesson. How many times have you been in a police car?
Just twice.
When before that were you in a police car?
Some little kids was busting windows, and they mistakenly put me in the police car on accident, and it wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No.
Let me see your bills.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
You know, and also when Austin after he had broke his nose, he told my son, he said to everybody in the neighborhood, he kept saying, well, that's what the white boy gets. That's what the white boy gets, you know. And my son, granted, he is light-skinned, but I don't care what shade you are, you know what I mean? This isn't about what color you are. It's about violating my child.
Absolutely right.
So that was another thing, because they think he's a white boy, and he's not just a white boy.
No, he's a boy.
Right, exactly.
He's a boy. What?
I don't feel like it's a racial thing here because my son is not racist, not at all.
He may not be, but he certainly has a little bit of a violent tendency.
I mean, that's all kids is like that when
No,
you're
all kids aren't like
this
that.
he was
All kids aren't
he
like
was
that.
cursing too.
Cursing
So-
is one thing. Listen to me.
Uh-huh.
Your son went up to him, came around the corner, came up to him, and hit him in the face because he didn't like the way he looked at him, according to him.
No.
He looked as if he might be going to hit him, so he hit him first, twice. But he went looking for him. He came around the corner, and before he even found out what was going on, I mean, I read his answer. His answer was he was protecting some little girl that he thought he was teasing. He was in a confrontation with another friend. That's a lot of baloney. He came around the corner, and he hit him twice. And he's responsible. He's responsible for his broken nose. He's responsible for all the medical bills, and he's responsible for pain and suffering. He's responsible for that.
I understand that.
What? You want to say something, sir?
Yes. Your Honor, when I received a phone call from my wife that the incident had taken place, I rushed home. During the time that my wife was filing a report, she had noticed that two of the young men that were at the scene were walking by snickering. And so I asked him to come here, and I asked him, I said, you know what, I want to know which one of you two were the one calling my wife out of her name. And they began to tell me that Joe is one of the kids in the neighborhood that he thinks he has to go for bad or whatnot. He has to prove something to himself. And that the girls that he accuses my son of making fun of, we have written testimonies from the young ladies. They warned Austin to run because they knew that Joe was going to go up to him and fight him for no reason at all. I asked the police officer to make sure his mother calls us. She wanted to know what happened, and she explained to me that, you know, it doesn't surprise her that her son, you know, might have did this, but she wanted to hear both. She wanted to hear both sides of the story. She is well aware that Joe is one way with her and another way out in the neighborhood, and she can't understand why he acts that way because her other children, her other young boys, don't act that way.
His neighbor, 12-year-old Joel Jackson, punched him in the face and broke his nose. Joel says he thought Austin was going to hit him first.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I spoke to her one time as Austin's mother. She informed me that she wants to hurry up and get the court situation over with. And I just hung up on her. I flat out hung up on her. You know, how are you going to call me and tell me that we need to hurry up and get this over with? Well, so would I, but I have to go to an ENT for my son's nose. His nose has to be broke now 2 times because he has a lump coming out of the side of his nose. You know, hello, this doesn't end for me just because I go to court.
So you have to do additional medical procedures other than the $2,059 that you've already spent.
Yes, it's $85 just for us to show our face into the ENT clinic.
Could you step up, please? I want to take a look at your nose. Where is it broken?
It's broke right down here, right in here.
You have any medical report in your file?
Yes, I do.
Can I see you step back to your folks, please? Do you have any other report with regard to the procedure for re-breaking his nose and resetting it?
I asked them what it will cost for Austin's nose. They said every nose varies. Some noses run $1,000, some runs $500. They just don't know until they see it.
Well, right now you have about $2,100 in out-of-pocket expenses just for his medical visits.
Yes, and I have no insurance because my husband got a better paying job, and his insurance doesn't even kick in for 90 days. So this is, every time I've went, it's self-pay, self-pay. I mean, we work for a living.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm glad that you're
I
working.
agree with that.
I'm glad that you're working. She's not going to have any of these expenses out of pocket. You had no right to hit him. Don't look up at the sky. You're just very, very lucky that they didn't pursue this matter in juvenile court because they probably wouldn't have put you away, but you would have had a record. How old are you?
12.
12. So you would have had a record at age 12. That's not very smart. How many brothers do you have?
2.
They ever been in jail?
No.
They nice boys?
Yes.
Good. So you have good examples at home. What happened to you?
Nothing.
Ever been suspended for fighting in school?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. How did I know that? How do you think I knew that?
I don't know.
Wasn't that a good question? Look, I'm only giving you your medical bills up until today. plus some additional costs that you incurred. But you may have to bring an additional suit once you have additional medical costs, because I can't anticipate what those medical bills are going to be. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. It covers your bills until today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't appreciate her cussing out my son the way she did.
When you see your child bleeding on a street and he's left there and you're just going to protect your child, I would say that sometimes you say things that just is not of you, but out of, frustration and anger.
And now the next case.
All parties on Zavala versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
20-year-old salesperson Brooklyn Zavala is suing her sister-in-law, 23-year-old restaurant manager Tiana Johnson, for babysitting fees and damage to her vehicle.
Mrs. Zavala, the defendant is your sister-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you provided daycare services for your sister-in-law's children.
Yes.
Then she decided to move. You did provide childcare for a few days, for which you were not paid.
Correct.
And then on the day that your sister-in-law was moving, it is your claim that she damaged a car of yours.
True.
What was your arrangement with regard to the childcare?
I was to get paid $2.37 per hour.
How did you come
Per
to that
child.
figure?
Because that's what the state was allowing her to get. I was just to get the whole check from the Health and Welfare Office. I got a check for May, June, and July. And then in August, I watched them for 5 days.
Which 5 days in August?
2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Ms. Johnson, did you get a check from the state for those dates in August?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because they were taking me off that program at that time because I was moving.
When
She
did-
was supposed to get a check. I have record right here that it got sent back to Health and Welfare
Let me see.
from her caseworker.
My caseworker told me that I was not getting a check for that month.
So it was returned.
Right.
So she did not, you're not claiming that she got the money and just didn't
Right.
give it to you.
Right. I just didn't get paid.
Well, she's not going to pay you. You have to get your money from the state. That was your agreement.
They only pay a portion on that, so she would also have to pay on top of that.
Why? That wasn't your agreement.
Because
That wasn't your agreement, Ms. Zavala.
true.
Your agreement was that whatever money she received from the state, you would get.
Right.
And you never got any additional monies in the months that you did watch the children,
True.
right? So why would you expect additional monies in August?
I estimated it from $2.37 for each child per hour.
Do you understand what
Yes,
I'm
I
saying
do.
to you?
I do.
I don't know what we're fighting about here for 5 days worth of daycare. If two people who are related to each other, except maybe the fight's about this damaged truck. So you want to tell me about the damaged truck?
Well, the morning of the 8th of August, we got a phone call saying we needed to come to Tiana's. Tiana had something to tell us. We were told she was leaving town because she was scared to death if her husband was going to kill her, which is her witness right now.
Go ahead.
Her brother and her also got in an argument, and because he was telling her that she shouldn't pick up and leave like that with 3 children.
Who should she leave the
my
children with?
We were going to offer, or Sean and Christine, and then Delano and Amanda, which is also her brother and sister-in-law.
Okay. What happened when she left?
Well, we helped her pack, and a couple hours later, she just was leaving, wasn't watching where she was going, and backed into my car. She said sorry, didn't even get out of her van, and then left.
She was upset, I assume, right?
No, she was fine by then because we were just packing up and leaving. She was in a hurry to leave
Why do you think she was in a hurry?
because she had to meet with a couple people in Oregon that she was going with.
She said she had to leave because she was deathly afraid of her husband. You don't think that picking up and leaving and packing up very quickly and leaving with your 3 children, you're upset? I mean, I'm not giving...
That happened a month or 2 prior to her leaving. She was still going up and taking the kids up to his house
Because he's their father.
until 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's deathly afraid of him. These are the car estimates and pictures.
I also have a blue book value of the car as a trade-in and as retail value.
Well, you definitely hit her car.
She was parked at an angle right in my blind spot on a cul-de-sac, which you're supposed to be parked with the curve. She was parked straight out this way. And when I was backing out, I could not see her, and I hit her like this.
Okay. $900 worth of damage.
And the blue book value of the car as a trade-in is $375, and the retail value is $1,400. I think that's a large amount for damage. It's almost as much as the car is worth.
So what do you think the right thing to do is?
Actually, 4 days before she filed this suit, I had told my brother that I was going to give them some money. And she has not tried to contact me, tried to resolve anything, to even try to work out a payment or anything.
Well, what is everybody so mad about?
I think she's mad because I left and she was out of a job.
No, because I went and got a job 2 weeks later.
All I heard that day that I was leaving was, what about the check? What about the check? No, you know, I'm going to miss you or anything. It was all about the check,
No.
the money.
Wrong, because I was trying to talk her out of going. I was scared for the kids' welfare because the van wasn't going to make it to West
And it did.
Virginia.
Did it make it?
No.
No.
She left it on the side of a highway and with all of their belongings in it, pretty much.
No, I didn't. I got the belongings there. My children were safe. My children were back safe.
Did the van die?
The transmission went out.
How did you get to your final destination?
With the rest of the party that I was traveling with. We had 3 different cars going.
Where were you going? Just my...
To West Virginia.
To what?
I had some friends up there.
Who were the other people?
Stay there. Some cousins, longtime friends of the family.
Well, were they going to live too?
Mm-hmm.
You just decided to all leave at the same time to go to West Virginia to live?
Right, there was a lot of circumstances following that.
Well, just give it to me in 30 seconds or less, would you?
Okay, they were deciding to leave, so I went over there. They offered me to go with them, so I decided, yeah, I would
Where
go.
were you all going? I mean, were you going to a farmhouse someplace? Where were you going to live?
No, I have a really good friend that lives up there, and she offered for me to stay with her.
How long did you stay there?
I stayed there a matter of 2 months.
And then where did you come?
I had to come back to the state of Idaho.
Why?
For a custody hearing.
And then you reconciled with your husband?
Somewhat, yes.
What does somewhat mean?
We're working on the situation.
Do you live under the same roof?
No.
What?
Can I stand up?
Of course, if you want to speak.
Yeah, what I was told by his mother was that,
It's hearsay.
well, even he admitted it, she came back down for that custody hearing plus a battery hearing
Against him?
against him, and then they were still together during that whole issue. They came back and they're still together now, from what I hear.
I guess.
And the whole thing with the car is, when she was up in West Virginia, I talked to her, said, you need to start making some payments. And that was like almost a year went by and nothing happened.
You owe them $900 to fix their car. With regard to the money for your 5 days of babysitting, I suggest that you take that up with the state.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 435 on the calendar in the matter of Beauchamp versus Rubino. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Beauchamp, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends. And beginning sometime in 1999, you started to make a series of small loans to the defendant. In total, you say $500. Friendship terminated, and you want your money.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that no time did she borrow $500 from you. She said that she only borrowed $200, but because of the stress that you put her through, she doesn't owe you anything and is counterclaiming for that stress in the amount of $500. What kind of loans, Mr. Beauchamp?
I loaned Miss Rubino a total of $500 from October through December of 1999. The first time she asked me to borrow $100 for her dog. I guess he needed some care or something, so I did loan her the $100. On the second occasion, she had a bed on layaway at a furniture store, and she was about $100 short for that. I did offer to loan her the money for that. And she had wrote a series of bad checks at a bar in Omaha, and she needed to borrow some money to cover those checks, and I did loan that to her.
How much?
The total came to about $500.
No. Not what I asked you. You say the total. This is a court, sir.
Yes.
$100 for the dog, $100 for the bed. How much was the third loan, sir?
That would have been the amount of about $120.
What else?
And then the next loan, the final loan, would have been to, again, cover checks in her checking account. And
That's
that total,
not true.
Just a minute.
And that came to a total of about $500.
Mr. Beauchamp, so far you haven't established to my satisfaction that you loaned her any money. Because when somebody comes to court, they have dates. They say, on such and such a date, I made a loan in the amount of $100. 2 days later, a week later, I made a loan of another $100. Then you don't tell me it was about $120. And after that, well, all of them totaled $500. You have no clue. You should keep a record of when you lend somebody money.
I do have a letter in my possession that she had sent to me
Then let me see
in
it,
November.
sir.
Okay.
Maybe that will help me.
It's a letter written by Miss Rubino.
Ah, so you acknowledge you owed him $500.
That was before. I said that to basically get him off my back.
No.
That's
Listen to
true.
me. Listen
Yes,
to me.
I did it one time. I no longer feel that way. Well, no,
This
and
was
there's
only a
reasons.
few months ago, madam. A few months ago, you wrote what I consider a straightforward letter indicating that you had been friends with the plaintiff,
yes.
that clearly in your mind he wanted more than just a friendship. You were not interested in anything more than a friendship.
True.
And that you felt as if because of the way he feels, do I look as if I need help? Because of the way he feels, you shouldn't even continue with a friendship. Pretty straightforward letter and put very well. I have your name, address, etc., and will begin paying you the monies owed, $500, as soon as I am financially able. Thank you for your helping me as I was desperate. Okay. You should keep better notes, Mr. Beauchamp. It would make my life much easier. You're just lucky that you have this letter. Otherwise, you'd be out of luck.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm listening.
I do feel that I owe him $100 for my dog's situation. I do have a pet.
No, listen to me.
I borrowed that.
Shh,
Okay.
listen to me. November 11th of the year 2000, you wrote him this letter acknowledging a debt in the amount of $500. Tell me what happened after November 11th of the year 2000 that you believe vitiates, does away with the debt.
I think that letter is dated November 17th. The reason I'm pointing that out is my birthday was on November 12th.
November 11th.
Okay.
17th is a 1-7. This is a 1-1.
Okay, well, I know I wrote that right after my birthday in which he proposed to me. When I said no, all of a sudden he was suing me for $500. Now I want to say, for one thing, had I just gone with him and made him happy or whatever by marrying him, it was just understood I would owe him no money. You know, we'd be the best of friends and there would be no problems. I won't go all into it, but he kind of thinks everything revolves around money, every emotion, everything. And I cannot be
Right now, that's what it's all about, madam. I'm not here thinking about your emotions.
I know.
I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, counselor, or anything else.
Okay.
I'm here talking about money.
Okay.
On the 11th of November of the
Yes.
year 2000, you acknowledged a debt to him in the amount of $500. I want you to explain to me, after November 11th, did you pay him? Did you pay him back?
No.
Did you have a conversation with him where he said, I am forgiving the loan?
Okay, the $100 loan?
The $500 loan.
No.
So now you tell me why you don't owe him the money.
I do not any longer feel like I owe him any money because he has stalked me, showed up at family functions, and sang love songs to me when I never even invited him. He has embarrassed me, told lies, very personal lies to my sister, to my family, that have been humiliating. We always were just friends, but because he wanted it to be more, he kind of painted this picture to everyone around us.
When did you realize he wanted it to be more?
Oh, about 3 or 4 months into the relationship. I wasn't sure, but after I kept reiterating that we were just friends, about 3 or 4 months, I kind of thought, well, there might not be any talking him into just being friends.
After that, did you take any money from him?
After that,
Yeah.
no, I didn't take any money from him, but we would go out to shopping
Just a
malls.
second.
We would go out. Okay.
Just a second. When did you first meet her?
I first met her in April of 1999.
And these loans didn't begin until October of 1999.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So if you say that you knew within the first 3 months, you
I wasn't
started
positive.
taking money
All right.
well after you knew that he cared for you in a different way than you cared for him.
I wasn't positive, Your Honor. I just had a gut feeling that there was no talking him out of just being friends, and he wanted more out of the friendship. I wasn't
Then
positive.
you should have written
but
this
I
letter a long time ago and not compounded your foolishness by taking money from him. Bird, look at the second hand on your watch. The defendant has 30 seconds to tell me about her counterclaim.
I do honestly believe that because on the basis of 2 factors that I do not owe Mr. Beauchamp.
I'm talking
$500.
about your counterclaim, madam, and you're wasting time.
Okay. The reason is because I encouraged my dad to hire him for at least $1,200 of projects. My dad would ask me-
Counterclaim.
Well, this is the $500. This is relating to.
He's going to get the $500, madam. Now I'm talking about your counterclaim.
Okay.
You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Okay.
Mental anguish.
Your Honor, may I speak?
No,
wait,
I didn't
'cause
ask you a question. Sit down.
Judge, 30 seconds is up.
Maybe
Okay,
she
well-
didn't understand.
Okay.
So we'll
I
give her
didn't
another 30
understand, I'm
seconds. Counterclaim.
Okay.
Stress.
The emotional distress
Yeah.
was basically him harassing me, stalking me, lying about us having a personal relationship, an intimate relationship when we never did, and
You don't get paid
the
for
mental
that.
distress.
You don't
I
get
went
paid
to a
for that.
psychiatrist over it.
Maybe if you had terminated your friendship with him when you first had a clue, madam, that he was becoming more emotionally involved with you than you were with him, then you wouldn't be seeing a psychiatrist right now. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. On your claim, sir, I find that she has acknowledged the debt, she has not paid the debt, you have not forgiven the debt, you are entitled to your money, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Harrelson versus Stracker. Step forward, please.
59-year-old corporate president Seth Harrelson is suing 53-year-old Shirley Stracker and her husband William. Seth says the Stracker's 17-year-old son Jonathan wrecked his daughter's car.
All right, Mr. Harrelson, this is your daughter, I assume?
Yes, Your Honor.
She's 16,
Yes, she is.
and you purchased a car for her.
We actually leased the car for her. We put the down payment for her, and she makes the payments.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when your daughter was out with her new car. You can stand up here with your father. And the defendant's son was there, and he asked if he could drive the car, right?
Correct.
And you said okay.
After asking him if he had a license.
You asked him if he had a license. He said yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you let him drive the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
He had an accident, and you want the defendants to pay for all of the unreimbursed expenses that your insurance didn't cover. Mr. and Mrs. Stracker say they didn't have the confidence in their son to let him take driver's ed, to let him have a driver's license. They told him they did not want him to drive yet, and that they should not be held responsible because your daughter let him drive the car. It's a very interesting scenario. Why don't you stand up, sir? Did you and your dad ever have a conversation about letting any of your friends drive your car?
I believe so.
Of course you did. I mean, that sounds normal.
That
Right?
car was for her use only.
Right. So why did you let him drive the car?
Because at the time I was tired and my boyfriend was going to drive the car, but he asked and offered if he could drive, and so I agreed.
Well, did you have your father's permission to let your boyfriend drive the car?
No.
I assume that your boyfriend has driven the car before,
Yes.
without your parents' permission.
Yes.
You didn't know that anybody else was driving this car, I assume.
Wasn't aware of it.
I'm sure. I've had kids of my own who were 16, who I had this discussion with 5 times over.
But we know nothing until after it happens, and then we get smarter.
Right. Tell me about the accident.
We were coming down the street, and upon making a right turn, he stopped in the middle of the lane because he almost missed the street he was supposed to turn right on. And he went to make the right turn, but he made it too late. He pulled into the opposing traffic lane. An oncoming car was coming. He jerked the wheel to the right. He hit off of a curb. The impact from the curb sent us all the way across the other side of the street onto another curb, a lawn, and into a bush, which stopped us from hitting the fence.
What happened when your father found out that he was driving the car?
He was angry. I was grounded for a while.
Now, when did your son turn 16?
July 16th.
Did he ask you to take driver's ed and all that other stuff that kids ask you to take?
Well, I don't recall if he asked me, but I had planned on letting him take it later on, you know, but not now.
Why?
Well, I have 4 sons, and my 3 older ones, I did not allow them to get a car or get their license until they were able to pay for their own car, their own insurance. So, and this was just the rules, so that was the way I was going to have it with him also.
Did you tell him that?
Well, he knew that. Yeah, I've told him that.
What's your first name?
Jonathan.
So you never took driver's ed?
No.
So tell me why you asked Lacey if you could drive the car.
Well, I was just joking around. I didn't really think that she'd let me drive the car. And then she did let me drive the car, which was surprising because she actually did know I did not have a license.
How did she know that?
We've known each other for a while. Everyone in our group of friends makes fun of me because they know I'm not getting my license till I'm probably around 18 or 19, so.
That still doesn't answer my question, Jonathan. Why did you ask her if you could drive the car?
Well, I wasn't really thinking that she'd let me. I was just joking around. It was supposed to be a joke, like.
Okay, so now it was a joke, and then she said okay.
Yeah. And then I stupidly got in the driver's seat, so.
You knew that was wrong.
Yes.
Now, your mother has told me that there were clear rules in your family about not having a driver's license. Were there ever any discussions, arguments in your house, little tiffs about the driver's license?
No, we never.
You're a good kid. I don't know if I could get away with that. Let me tell you why this case presents a problem to me, Mr. Harrelson. Ordinarily, I would say, well, he clearly is responsible for at least part of the damage to your car because he did, in fact, get behind the wheel, drove it, and he caused damage to your car, and why should you have to shoulder that yourself? The issue that's presented is, should his parents, who have done everything that they can to ensure that he not drive a car, they've made it clear to him that until he is responsible enough, he does not have their permission to do it, and they've acted on what they said. You felt you could trust your daughter, right?
Correct. I think that my only rebuttal to that would be the fact, okay, my daughter is 16. She wanted to drive a car. I took the time to take her out to parking lots, to school grounds, to big areas where there was no traffic to teach her how to responsibly drive a car. Okay, I took those steps. Nobody had a sign around this boy's neck that says, I do not have a license. He knows he doesn't have a license. Nobody put him behind the wheel of that car except himself.
No, you're
Now,
wrong, sir. No, Mr. Harrelson, that's where you're mistaken. But for your daughter's permission, he would not have been behind the wheel of the car. And while you may have given her driving lessons and taught her how to drive responsibly, she still lacked the judgment and the maturity to be able to say to Jonathan, sorry, Jonathan, you can't drive my car whether you have a license or not because I've made a promise to my parents. So that my problem is, if I could hold Jonathan here partially responsible, I would do that. He's a minor, so I can't do that. I have to find that his parents knew or should have known or in some way enabled him to do what he did. And I find that quite to the contrary, they did everything to avoid his being behind the wheel of a car. That's why his parents aren't responsible. Now, if they knew that he had done this sort of thing before, I would say, yes, they are at least partially responsible. But I, quite frankly, Mr. Harrelson, cannot find them partially responsible. He is. I mean, she may have given you permission, given you the car keys and turned the car over to you, but nobody grabbed you by the throat and put you into the car. So, Mr. Harrelson, I will certainly tell young Jonathan here that he's a very young man, and if he wants to start his life out right, taking care of his own obligations, and if you want to be mature enough, and if you want to drive a car before you're 50 years old, because I guarantee you, I'm looking at your mother in your mother's house, you ain't going to drive a car so soon. Now, in the law, because Jonathan is a minor, I cannot enter a judgment against him. I could enter a judgment against his parents for contributory negligence, because he was contributorily negligent in this accident. But I would have to satisfy myself that they in some way either knew, actively or tacitly, or encouraged him to get behind the wheel of a car, any car, and that would be by participating in him getting a license, by participating in driver's ed. Quite the contrary. In their case, sir, he was told, you can't drive. But you have to understand, Mr. Harrelson, but for the actions of your agent, and in this situation, your daughter was your agent, because you chose to give her a car. You gave her certain rules, which she violated with regard to other people driving the car. So, but for her actions, we would not be here today. Therefore, I can impugn her negligence in letting him drive that car to you. His parents didn't allow him to do that. And if I were to say that they were financially responsible to you, I would be impugning his negligence to them, and they did everything that they could to see to it that their son did not drive a car until they thought he was responsible. I'm telling you, your daughter may know how to drive a car, but she violated your trust on many more than this one occasion.
Now, this is case number 521 on the calendar in the matter of Valerio versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Valerio, at a time when you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, you decided to live together. You took a lease on an apartment, according to you, for a year. There was a problem with that living arrangement. The defendant was taken into custody for some act of domestic violence. You ultimately had a restraining order against him. Is that right?
That's true.
And what you want is for him to pay the remainder of the lease when he was no longer living in the apartment after the restraining order, and some other nonsensy stuff. But mostly it's the money for the lease. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move in?
September of 2000.
And how long did you actually live together?
Till December 9th of 2000.
Was it on the 9th of December that he was taken into custody?
Yes.
Who called the police?
Actually, he called the police first and hung up on them, and I called the police from a neighbor's house.
So you called the police first?
I did, yes.
Were those charges ultimately dropped?
Yes, they were.
Did you consent to a protective order, or was there a trial?
No, it was just dropped. Everything was just dropped.
Not the restraining order was not dropped.
Exactly.
That's what I asked you, sir. She has a restraining order against you. Did you consent to that restraining order, or was there a trial with regard to her?
There's no trial. I consent to it.
So as part of the restraining order, you knew that you would not be able to live in the house?
Correct.
And that's what you wanted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you pay rent in December?
I had given her cash in December.
Did he pay rent for December?
He gave me $265, which was half of all the utilities from December and January.
Did he pay rent in November?
Yes.
Why do you think he should be responsible for the remainder of the lease?
He signed a lease for a year. It's not my fault that he got kicked out. It's not my fault that he made a mistake and can no longer live there. In order to get out of the lease, he has to pay a month in advance plus a half a month, but that entails me moving. I don't think I should have to move and pack up my stuff just because he can no longer live there.
Well, Miss Valerio, according to Mr. Hall, he offered to pay the month and a half's rent to move out, but you would not have accepted that anyway.
That was never brought to my attention. He's been talking to the leasing agents, and they told him that they wouldn't allow it.
No, I thought that that was permitted in your lease.
Well, it is, but they're not allowing it because I have to move out, and they don't feel that I should have to move out, and neither do they.
You're not going to get your money. This was an error in judgment on both of your parts to move in together. It lasted a relatively short period of time. He is precluded from living in your home. He consented to a protective order. If you have the ability to minimize your losses, even though that involves you moving, you can't expect him to support you. You're not married to each other. And certainly he should have paid December's rent because you were living there up till December 9th. Is that right?
Yes, I was, which I did.
You have proof that you paid December's
No,
rent?
unfortunately, I did not ask her for a receipt.
Did you always pay her in cash?
No, just the last 2 months because I had a restraining order against me, so...
I'm not talking... When did you have a restraining order?
The whole time we lived there, he never paid rent. I paid rent. He didn't even have a job half the time he lived there.
I have receipts.
Well, show me your receipts.
Deposit, first month's rent.
He paid a security deposit of $100. I paid for groceries. I paid for food.
I'm not talking groceries and food. We're talking now rent.
I'm talking all bills.
No,
I have the receipts for everything.
I'm talking rent.
I have the receipts for everything. Every
Valerio, shh, I want you to listen to me. I've said this before. I don't know whether you've heard it before. When two people decide to live together without benefit of marriage, there are different set of rules than when you're married. I don't choose to waste my time in going through your grocery bills and seeing who was supposed to pay for what box of Rice Krispies.
Actually, I was speaking about rent because there's...
Well, that's all I'm speaking about. You
Yeah.
said I have all these bills. I have grocery bills and cable bills and all the other bills, and I don't intend to do that. The crux of your case is about a lease to which he obligated himself, and to which he was prepared to sign off, pay the month's rent, get off the lease, but it would involve you moving. And you said, I'm not moving.
I was never asked.
Just a minute. Yeah, it came up. I want to tell you something. It came up, Miss Valeria, because you were too quick to say, I don't think that I should have to move because of his actions.
No, I heard that from the leasing agents. That's the only person I heard it from. I never heard by
just
letter,
a second.
by nobody.
If you heard it from the leasing agent, then the leasing agent said to you, he came in trying to sign off on the lease, You mean it just came up? You said, "How are you, leasing agent? Good morning."
When I went
and the
in to pay-
leasing agent said to you, "You shouldn't have to move because of something he did." Is that how it came up?
No.
All right. You know, don't give me
Oh, I know.
smart. All right. I see September. What about October, sir?
October, November, they were all
Look-
paid.
Show me. You have checks here.
I don't have the checks for October, November.
Why not?
Didn't pay them.
I did pay them.
Shh. Don't talk to her.
All right. The checks that I wrote out, I don't get actually copies back. Those checks there you see are from a relative of mine that wrote them out for me at the time because I had no checking account. So their bank sends back their checks. The bank that I currently use does not send back my checks.
Fine. Just show me a statement.
Again, I don't have that.
Well, where'd you think you were coming today? To a dance? If you don't have the checks, then you have a bank statement. The bank statement shows what checks were
I
paid.
don't have it. Rent was paid on time every month.
Well, but the question is, did you pay your part of the rent? She says you paid some, but not all.
Well, we were roommates, so of course I did.
He didn't have a job.
Let me see your checks for October, November, and December.
There's,
You don't want this, do you?
What is that?
a
yeah, it's my
ledger.
checking account that shows.
It's a ledger.
I don't want your ledger. I want bank statements. You have a bank statement? Do you get your checks back?
No, but in the actual ledger, it tells that I pay Coachman Crossing. I mean, when you sign your check, there's like a backing
All right,
to
let me
it that
see.
copies it.
She's very organized, so.
You actually don't get a receipt from them.
I'm not talking about a receipt, madam. I'm talking about a bank statement.
I didn't bring bank statements because when you sign a check, it has a carbon copy. So I could actually show you my checking account, but those are copies of it.
Let me explain something to you. When you write out a check, there's a carbon underneath.
Exactly.
You can write out a check, rip it up into little teeny, teeny, teeny pieces, and throw it in the garbage. And guess what you still have? The carbon. Right?
I do have the carbon, but
Just
I
a
don't have it
second.
with me.
Hello? Didn't you understand what I just said?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eileen Valerio says former live-in boyfriend Roger Hall owes her for breaking an apartment lease and the money she paid for car insurance. Roger says Eileen won't return his stereo equipment.
So you don't have your checks for October, November, and December either?
They should be all there. But
This is not here, madam. This is your ledger. This is your ledger. This is what you write out. This has nothing to do with a bank.
Your Honor, I use starter checks.
What?
I use starter checks.
Starter checks?
Correct.
Where are they?
I already used them.
You people deserve each other. I swear to you, people actually deserve each other. Are you still living in the apartment?
Yes. The lease is going to be up in August.
Are you planning on staying there? Do you have a roommate?
No.
You live there all by yourself? And you're enjoying it?
Absolutely.
Pay for it. Now, let's get to next. Monies to purchase a car is what you have here.
What happened is when we moved to Florida, he had a car and he didn't have a license. So I put his car under my name for insurance and signed up for a policy for a year. We had agreed that we would use the same vehicle for a year. And he took the car, so now I don't have a car.
So you want him to pay for a car? That's what you said, monies to purchase a car.
Well,
and taxi transportation.
Taxi transportation is what I've been...
So
it
you want him
averages
to
out
pay-
to about $200 a month. That's a big expense, and I already paid the premium of the insurance policy. So I'm driving nothing and paid something.
Did you pay for... You have one point that I will give you. If you paid for the insurance and he's driving the car, he should reimburse you for the insurance, right? Car.
Insurance is canceled. It's done.
It's over?
It's over with. It's
I
been
already
over with.
paid the premium. $626.
For how... Well...
There's no way.
Just a second. When did you cancel the insurance?
Months ago.
No, last month. He took the car, so I canceled the insurance because I don't...
Oh, he took the car, you canceled the insurance. What are you bothering me for?
Because I paid the premium already. I paid a year's worth of insurance.
Then they will reimburse it to you. What's next? And he's not paying for your taxi cab bills. What else?
I'm without a vehicle, so I don't get reimbursed for that?
No.
It's my vehicle.
Do I look like I need help from you? Huh?
No.
Miss Valerio, you tried a situation, it didn't work out, cost you a couple of bucks. What are you bothering me for? Let's get to your counterclaim, which is equally nonsense. Now, you say that she has of yours, sir, some property.
Correct.
And you also say that she damaged the car that she was driving around in, which is your car that no longer has insurance.
Correct.
All right, let's start with the damaged car. When did she damage your car? When she was driving it?
When I picked the car up and drove it out of the parking lot.
You mean after you separated?
After we separated, I had an escort.
Yes,
out
you
to the
picked the car up and you drove it out of the parking lot. What happened?
Well, I drove it home and started smoking real bad.
It started smoking?
Correct.
So?
Reason why? Because there was no oil in the car.
Yes.
So it caused damage internally.
Why didn't you put oil in the car?
Well, I did, but damage was already done.
Why didn't you put oil in the car before? You think that she sucked out the oil from the engine?
Before when?
Just a second. You think that she sucked out the oil from the engine to spite you?
Whether she's saving it or not, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either, so what are you bothering me for? It's your car, make sure it's got oil. Next. What's next? What's next?
You tell me, you're next.
Good. VCR, stereo, and permanent scar.
Correct.
As you see, this is not the case of the century.
No.
And I don't take it really seriously. All right. Do you have his TV first?
No.
Do you have a TV?
Yes.
Where did you get it from?
I bought it when I was 20 years old with my tax returns.
And that's the only TV that you have?
Yes.
And what about the TV that you're talking about?
It's a 13-inch TV, Emerson. Color TV, remote control.
Where was that? Do you have any idea?
I believe it was in a box that he took from the apartment.
But you don't have it?
No.
All right. Do you have his VCR?
No.
Do you have a VCR?
No. Yeah, well, yes, mine.
Two of them.
Both mine.
You have two VCRs?
Mm-hmm. I have one in the bedroom and one in the living room.
One belongs to me.
How did you get it?
I bought it.
When?
95.
In 1995?
Correct. Receipts, manuals.
Oh, perfect. Good. He gets one VCR back, madam. One VCR for the defendant. And if you want to watch a movie, go in another room. What about stereo and speakers? Do you have that of his?
When actually he left the apartment after he had been arrested, we had a phone conversation, which my witness here actually heard, that when he moved out, like the clothes he has on right now, I bought. Everything in the apartment I bought. He told me that because he was moving into his parents' home, he would have no room for it, and whatever was left there that he didn't take, I could have as payment to put towards anything else because he was buying something new.
Did you say that to her, Mr. Hall?
No, I did not.
He actually heard the conversation.
I would never give up my stereo.
Your name, please.
Ray Marsh, Your Honor.
How do you know the plaintiff and the defendant?
We're best friends, and we used to be roommates, actually.
You and the defendant?
All three of
All
us
three
used to
of
be
us.
roommates in New York.
Did you hear a conversation about any of the stereo equipment or anything else?
Yeah, and the conversation that I had overheard.
Overheard it in person or on the phone?
On the phone.
Were you standing next to the phone or you want an extension?
It was on a three-way conversation.
Go ahead, let me hear.
Mr. Hall and Ms. Blair were conversing about this, and he had said that she could have the stereo equipment because he was going to be able to move into an apartment right away. He may have to move back in with his parents, and that she could have the equipment because he felt that was payment back for all the things that she had gotten him.
Did you have that conversation?
I had a conversation where I told her that I would leave it there for the time being because I had no place to put it. But when I come pick up all my stuff, I'm getting all of it at one time.
Okay. Let's get to the permanent scar left on my face by Eileen.
Scar on my face.
From what?
From her hitting me with a metal object.
When was that?
That's when I called the police. And I was arrested because I was the aggressor, they said. Charges were dropped.
Do you have any medical report?
No.
Do you have any pictures?
It's scared, it's scarred.
Do you have any photographs of the incident?
Actually, she does.
Could I see them, please? Well, he clearly has some marks on his face. He's clearly scratched him up real good.
There's pictures of me in
hit
there
him
as
up real
well.
good. And I see your pictures here.
I didn't hit him with a metal object, actually. It was my nails.
It looks like nails to me.
Yeah.
Looks like you really went after each other that night.
Actually, I didn't. He punched me, and I was just trying to get him away from me. And my nails actually broke against the wall when he pushed me against the wall. And that's how he got the scratches on his face.
I restrained her, Your Honor.
You were what?
Restrained her. I pushed her away from me. That's just the pictures. There's red marks. That's from restraining.
I see it. I
In
see
this
it.
statement right here in court, he admits to doing everything if you would like to
I'd
take a
like
look
to
at
see
that.
it.
He admitted himself into a 26-week course for domestic violence, and he actually overheard another conversation.
That was court ordered. He didn't admit
Thank
himself.
Well, actually, he admits in there that he wanted to do it himself, and then he overheard another conversation where he wanted to admit himself into a mental institution.
Miss Valerio, let me ask you this question, madam. Do you think he has... Put the rubber band down. You think he... Put the rubber band down. You think he has mental problems?
I think he has psychological problems that stem from childhood, yes.
Fine. If you think he has psychological problems, why in the world would an intelligent person want to keep property like his stereo equipment that it appears that he now wants? Even if he once said to you, in the heat of a moment, you can keep all that stuff, I don't want it. Now he wants his stereo stuff back. Why wouldn't a smart person say, I'm glad I got away. I don't have any broken bones. I don't have a child with him. There's nothing to keep us together. The only thing that's going to be a bee in his bonnet is his stereo equipment.
He could have taken it.
But now he wants it. I'm just talking about being smart. I'm not talking about you having to return it. I'm talking about being smart. So far, you did a lot of things that weren't smart. It would be smart to cut your ties with him. Right?
Sure.
Good. You can pick up your stereo equipment, sir, along with the one VCR. I believe that you probably at some point said in the heat of the moment, I don't care, you can keep all that stuff. Yeah. But I do believe it's smarter on her part to give it back to you. We got each other? Good. That's all. That resolves this case. You have no case. He has no case, but he's getting a VCR and a stereo. Goodbye, have nothing to do with each other. According to this, you sent him balloons on his birthday, Miss Valeria?
Yep.
Well, that's even dumber than dumb.
When someone has a problem,
Your
we
Honor.
just want
That's even dumber than dumb.
Your Honor.
Because quiet. That sends out mixed messages to him.
True.
Forget about your scar.
He was supposed to. He was actually supposed to get help, and he now.
Miss Valerio,
didn't get it.
pay careful attention to me.
I know.
It sends out mixed messages, madam.
It wasn't just from me. It was from all of us.
What do you want?
This is a copy of a returned check that Miss Valerio had forged my name.
There's nothing about, in your countersuit, anything about a forged check.
Actually, this is just brought to my attention recently.
Say goodbye to him, will you, please?
Goodbye. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 513 on the calendar in the matter of Hicks versus Freitas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
All right, let's see if we can resolve this today. Okay? Bring your level down.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Good. Miss Hicks, the defendant is your son.
Yes, he is.
According to your complaint, there was an altercation in your home sometime last summer. And during the course of that altercation, he damaged a dining room table in your home.
That's correct.
You want him to pay for that table or for the repairs to the table. I honestly believe after reading the complaint and the answer, there's a lot more here, and probably not the reason for this lawsuit, but we'll get to that in a minute. This whole altercation started over your son's children from a previous marriage.
Correct.
I gather that you don't see those children regularly. Is that right, sir?
Once a year, if I'm lucky.
And you decided to form a more intimate relationship with the children's mother so that you could visit with them.
That's correct.
And made arrangements for the girls, they're two girls,
Yes, ma'am.
to come to visit you.
Correct.
Where do the girls live?
The girls live in Connecticut.
And where do you live?
I live in Oakland, California.
So, how old are they?
Leanna is 8, she'll be 9 in July, and Simone just turned 11 in January.
And ultimately, their mother agreed to let them come to visit you.
I had to go out and spend some time with them because neither one of us had seen the girls in 4 years, and see if they were willing to come. I didn't want to bring them out and have them, you know, afraid. And I spent some time out there with them, and they were willing to come, and she was willing to let me.
But there was a stipulation to allowing the girls to come to California with you. What was the stipulation?
Is that I was in control and responsible for the girls. She did not want their father to have them alone. He could come visit them, he could spend time with them, he could do whatever he wanted to, as long as I was there.
Did you tell your son that the girls were coming?
I told him that I was hoping to bring them back. I couldn't guarantee it. But as soon as we landed, I took the girls straight to his job.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you saw your girls, you hadn't seen them in 4 years?
3 years and about eight and a half months.
Was it nice to see them?
Very nice.
And that all came about because of your mother's efforts.
Yes.
Did you communicate with your son the fact that the only stipulation was that he couldn't have the children alone without you?
Absolutely.
When did you tell him that?
When I called him and told him we had landed, I had the girls. And he said, "You're coming by here." He wanted to spend some time with them. So I agreed to leave them at his job with him, and I would come back and get them. I honestly don't even know exactly what went on, but he ended up leaving his job and taking the girls to his house and then bringing them back to me at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I told him we could not do that again. I was going to find out, and the whole point of this was to be able to have the girls back and forth on some type of a regular basis.
Why did you bring the girls back 2 o'clock in the morning?
Because that's what time I started work, was at 2:30 in the morning at my job.
That's right. That's right.
Wrong. That was wrong. Do you understand that that was wrong?
No, I don't understand it that
Okay,
way.
well, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Your mother, through some effort, had reestablished a relationship with your two girls, and your two girls are in the custody of their mother. Absent a court order to the contrary, she has the right to stipulate what the parameters of this visit will be. And by returning the girls at 2:30 in the morning, that was behaving irresponsibly, totally irresponsibly.
Well, if I could speak here, if you want to know why, let's get on this subject, their responsibility. She failed to pick them up. The whole thing came about with them staying with me at my job was the fact that she had to take her boyfriend back to his house in South San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't eaten yet, they hadn't done anything. She's like, I have to run him back. I'll leave him here with you. I said, fine, they'll be here with me. I still got 3 more hours of work. They can stay for a couple hours. You come back, pick them up. Well, I'll go get something to eat, and that'd be the end of it. She never showed. I called 2 or 3 times. I'm stuck in traffic, or this took longer, whatever. I said, well, I need to go. I said, I'll take them home with me, feed them. They can stay with me. I'll bring them back in the morning on my way to work. I didn't want to bring them back at 2:30 in the morning. She insisted. I said, well, what do you want me to do? She didn't want me to take them at all. I said, okay, well, I'll just keep them here till 8, 9 o'clock at night. They'll just stay in my office for 8 hours a day until you feel like coming back to get them. And she agreed that wasn't acceptable either.
Is that what happened, Miss Hicks?
No.
Let me hear.
We got in there, I would say, somewhere around 4. And
To his office?
To his office. And I had to take Dwight back, because Dwight went with me to the East Coast. He wanted to keep the girls. He told me to go. He'd keep them here, and then we could go eat. That part is correct. I took Dwight back and dropped him off, turned around and came back. He called. He wanted to leave. I told him he couldn't. He said, well, I'll go take him to get something to eat, and then I'll meet you. I said, okay, that's fine. Then he called and said, no, I'm taking him home.
So ultimately, the girls came home at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
It was a mistake for you to leave them with your son.
That's true.
Because that was in direct violation of your agreement with their mother.
That's true.
So what happened on the day of this altercation?
He called me that morning and
The
told
next
me,
morning?
No. I would say about 4 or 5 days later.
Had he seen the girls in that 4 or 5 day period?
No, I hadn't seen them once, Your Honor. Not to mention it was 3 weekends later when I arrived.
Okay. Had you called your mother about coming over to see the
Several
girls?
times.
Well, what happened when you called her about coming over to see the girls?
They were never there. She was never there, they were never there, or when I wanted to come over, it just wasn't going to work out. I couldn't do that. Or a weekend when I just wanted to take them to the city. No.
Well, you couldn't take them away to the city, Mr. Freitas, because her agreement with their mother prohibited you from doing that.
I have joint custody of those kids.
No. If you have joint custody of the children, then what you do, sir, is you proceed with your rights in a court if your custodial rights are being interfered with. But your mother had an agreement with their mother. This was not your visitation. This was a gratuitous visit by their mother and their grandmother. So I don't know what kind of joint custody you have with the children if you haven't seen them in 4 years.
She won't let me see them. Every time the judge says I can see them, she goes to Puerto Rico.
Then you have to pursue that, sir. But you don't pursue that at the expense of this relationship, because this relationship is the only one that's enabling you, without having to go back to Connecticut, to see your girls.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Beverly Hicks says her son, Stan Freitas, destroyed her dining room table in a fit of rage. Stan says she wouldn't let him see his children.
Now, what happened when you went over to pick up the girls? Had you called first?
Yes, ma'am. 3 days straight, and the night before.
Okay, and the night before, did you make an arrangements to see the girls?
Yes, I told her I'd be coming by in the morning. She said, that's fine, you can come by in the morning.
Great, so you got there.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened?
I knocked on the door. She said, come in. I went in. The girls weren't to be seen. I said, where are the girls? She said, you're not going to see them. I said, what do you mean by that?
Just a second. Did she say you're not going to see them or you're not going to take them away?
Her exact words, you're not going to see them. And in fact, I didn't see them the whole time I was there because my half-brother over there had them in the back bedroom. Wouldn't even let them come out to see me because she knew they'd be upset if they knew they couldn't see me, spend time with me, or leave with me, whatever the case.
No, there's a difference, Mr. Freitas. There's a difference in seeing them and taking them, sir.
Okay, seeing them then.
Did you tell your mother that you really only wanted to visit with the girls in the house?
Yes, I wanted to see their faces. She agreed to that. And when I showed up and plans changed, and then I couldn't see them, I couldn't spend time with them, not even in the house, you know, that's what I was upset about. She had changed everything when I'd shown up. The reason she changed everything is because my new wife was sitting out in the car out front. Her entire look on her face, her attitude, her tone of voice was fine until when she opened the door and she realized that my new wife was sitting out in the car. That's when things turned sour. She began to yell. She rushed the kids into the back room with my half-brother and then said, you're not seeing them, you're not taking them, you just need to leave.
Why do you think that she had a problem with your new wife being involved with the visitation with the girls? Did she tell you?
No, she didn't tell me.
Did she say anything about your former wife saying that she didn't want the girls to be in her company?
No.
Did you ever tell him that, Miss Hicks?
Yes, I did.
What was the reason that the first Mrs. Freitas didn't want the second Mrs. Freitas to be involved with the children?
Because when the girls called his house, the messages were not relayed to Stan that the girls had called.
At least that's what wife number one reported to you. Whether she was right or wrong.
I have no clue.
You have no clue. But that was the arrangement.
Absolutely.
Okay, because they didn't know each other.
No, they've never met.
And the second Mrs. Freitas isn't the reason that the first Mrs. Freitas became the first Mrs. Freitas. I assume that...
No.
No.
So it was just a first wives thing.
Yes.
Right. Got it. Unreasonable. Mr. Freitas, that's unreasonable on her part. But that was a bargain. Okay, so then the girls are shuffled in the back room, and there's an argument between you and your son. Tell me about the argument.
Well, that's not exactly how it happened. Josh answered the door. I didn't answer the door. The girls were already in the back of the house playing in the room. And I came out to the dining area. He said, I'm here to get the girls. I had no idea Ileana was in the car. I said, you know you can't take the girls. You can stay here. You can see them. You can do whatever you want. You cannot take the girls. He screamed for Simone, and Josh came out, stood in the doorway of the kitchen, and he was going to get between us. I told him to stay back because I didn't want these two boys fighting.
He never came out, Your Honor.
And Stanley at that point bumped into me. I bumped back into him. We pushed back and forth. He yelled again for Simone and Leanna at the top of his lungs. I looked at Josh. Josh is standing. I said, get back, go in there with the girls. Call the police. And at that, he picked the table up and he threw the table. And I told him to get out of my house. He turned around and walked out. I followed him out. That's when I saw that Ileana was in the car, and AJ. I followed him around. We had a little more pushing and shoving, and he got in the car and left. The police came, took a report, did pictures. The girls were very upset. I went in and spent a little bit of time with them, told them that their dad wasn't mad at them, their dad was mad at me. And Simone says, Dad loses his temper a lot. It's okay.
And I assume that since that time you have not seen your youngest grandson.
No, I have only seen my grandson 4 times. He was 2 years old in January.
And you've not communicated with your son since then?
I have attempted to. He hangs up on me and tells me not to call.
Can I see the pictures of the table, please?
Yeah. Okay, these are my pictures. This is the police report, and these are the police pictures. I attempted to work this out with him by getting him to just pay for the table, typed up a thing, signed it. My son gave it to him. He would not sign it or give him the money. He said he had to call and make sure that this would prevent any legal problems. Then the DA dropped the case, and so this was my only
No,
alternative.
the case was dismissed, Your Honor, in a court.
After a trial?
Facts were heard. The DA went back. I went back 4 times.
No.
4 days of work.
Pay careful attention to me, sir. Was there a trial?
No, there was 2 hearings, and it was thrown out. She keeps using this as an excuse to force a relationship with me and my family.
Okay, that's where we're at. You're absolutely right.
Yes, let's get there, ma'am.
Okay. But what I'm telling you is,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
you know, I can understand your feeling when your girls are in California and you are relegated to a position of visiting them under their mother's rules. Okay? I can understand that. And if it's true, Mr. Freitas, that you have an order that permits you more liberal time with your girls that you're not able to enforce because their mother, for whatever reason, I am telling you I am sympathetic with that. You're targeting the wrong person.
I'm a little confused by that, Your Honor. All I'd like for her to do is just leave me alone. I'm not targeting her. I'm not saying bring them down again. I'm not saying have you talk to them. I let it go. After this incident, that was the end of it. And she won't let it go.
Because she's not ready to, you're her child.
She blew that shot, Your Honor. Tell me if I'm wrong, Your Honor. If this is your child, you look at his point of view and you work for his best interest, not some ex-wife.
No,
3,000
Mr.
miles
Freitas,
away. Or at least work it down the middle, you know, somewhere in between.
She can't do that,
Well, then
Mr.
she made the deal
Freitas.
with the devil, Your Honor. I didn't make the deal.
No, Mr. Freitas, that's not a deal with the devil, sir.
You have met my ex-wife?
Cute line. Mr. Freitas, your mother may have made a deal with the devil in order to get your girls here to California. And if that was the only way to do it, you shouldn't have put her in a position to say, well, now that you got the girls here, now we're going to play it by my rules. It may have all worked out eventually, given some time, but you wanted the...
But then again, Your Honor, it may not have. And considering it was 3 years and 8 months since I'd last seen him, what was I supposed to do? Hope that this worked out? And if it didn't, just suck up the next 4 years?
Just a minute. You want to know the answer? The answer is you got to see your children. You
For
got
4
the answer
hours
is,
in my office.
Just a second. You got to see your children, and you could have seen them again.
She wouldn't
You know,
let me.
listen. No, yes, Mr. Freitas, you're wrong, and I can't believe that. I cannot believe that you.
Neither could I.
No, Mr. Freitas, you're very angry, and I don't blame you for being angry at their mother if she's interfering with your rights to see your girls. Your target is the wrong person. She tried to do the right thing. You wanted her to breach her agreement, which could have, if the girls went home and said, I went out with Daddy and his new wife, and we spent the day, we spent overnight, we spent the weekend. Their mother says, that wasn't our agreement. They're never coming out to you again. You broke your word. All bets are off. It would have been a tragic mistake. So when you say to me, well, maybe it would have worked and maybe not, and then I would not have seen them for another 4 years, that's possible. But right now, she did it. She put your girls in the same state that you were, in the same county, on the same block, in the same house. You got to see them. To be able to see them, to visit with them, even once a year if your mother brings them out, is better than nothing. But you're picking on the wrong person, sir.
I'm not picking on her. When this incident happened, that was the last contact I've had with her, and she keeps repeatedly trying to have contact with me, and I don't want it. It's over. Go do your thing, leave me alone. That's all I ask.
Good. Give me the estimate for the table.
I tried to get him to pay for the table.
Listen, I know what it's about. I see no matter how hard I
These
try,
are the
he's going to be
receipts.
angry. Miss Hicks?
That's the
But
breakdown.
she's using
These
this
are the
table as an
receipts.
excuse.
Of course she is. I absolutely agree with you.
And that's right, Your Honor? That's right?
No.
When a judge in a criminal court said this is a bunch of nonsense...
Judge in the criminal
threw it
court
out?
wasn't going to waste their time, Mr. Freitas, when you say, she wants me and I don't want anything to do with her. It's over. Not smart. Okay, Mr. Freitas, you have my sympathy as a parent who's having a difficult time establishing an ongoing relationship with 2 of your children. There may have been a reason for that. I don't know. I don't know what the reason for the breakup of your first marriage was. I don't know if you had the same kind of anger that you seem to have now, that's part of your personality. But I do have sympathy for you with regard to not seeing your girls. I think that to choose to target your mother,
I still don't get this target my mother. How have I targeted her?
you targeted your mother by cutting yourself off from her and cutting her off from her other grandchild. That's how you targeted her. You've said, it's okay for me not to have anything to do with my mother anymore. I'm cutting her off. She is now, in my mind, dead, and there is no reason for me to see her. I'm not going to allow her to see my child.
What reason would I have to see her? She wouldn't even let me see my own kids. I don't even have a phone number for where they're at. And she couldn't even let me see them?
She did let you see them. She brought them to your office. If she were going
And
to
on the first day, and then the whole time they were here, I wasn't allowed to see them?
Mr. Freitas, I want to tell you something. You know that relationships usually don't last, right?
Yes,
Is that a
ma'am.
fair statement? You know how many mothers you have?
Well, she needed to value it on the other side, too.
Try receiving, Mr. Freitas.
Desiree Loire claims ex-boyfriend Anthony Tatum owes for unpaid rent from their shared apartment. Desiree also says Anthony slashed her comforter and put a hole in the wall.
I have a feeling it's advice time. Miss Loire, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you also shared an apartment with him.
Yes.
You claim he owes you a whole bunch of money, dating back to 2005. You do know we're in 2007 now.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Tatum says he owes you nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice-looking couple. How old are you?
21.
And you?
22?
And you moved in together when you were 19 and you were 20.
Correct.
Old enough to sign a contract?
Yes.
Definitely.
So you signed a lease together?
Multiple.
Multiple leases together?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking about all the leases you signed together. I'm talking about the last one after you moved out, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. And it is the plaintiff's claim that you moved out, you owed her rent, you damaged some of her property, and you loaned him money in 2005 for some car insurance. That you don't remember. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a Japanese restaurant as a bartender.
And you?
I'm a student.
How do you support yourself?
Currently, my parents do, ma'am.
Have you ever supported yourself?
For the past 3 years, yes.
So you just went back to school.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Did you make a living at it?
Very much so.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That's a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you injure anybody?
No, ma'am.
How long is your license suspended for?
It's no longer suspended. I just can't be picked up by the insurance of a dealership. Therefore, I'm back in school.
Gotcha. Okay. That was life-changing.
Very much. I learned a life lesson.
So I'm going to give you both another one. Don't ever move in with somebody and sign a lease together. Single people who want to try living together should always get an apartment that each of them can afford separately. Isn't that a smart idea?
Absolutely.
So that if it doesn't work out, somebody says, this is my apartment, that was our agreement, you leave, I can pay the rent all by myself. Of course, I understand that by saying this, I will probably lose 40% of the cases that I try each year. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the purpose of the common good. Right?
You will not lose a single case.
You know, he says that because nobody's going to listen to me. But if they did listen, there's a certain wisdom in what I say.
Yes, it is.
That way, 2 people wouldn't be homeless, 2 people wouldn't have their credit in the toilet, 2 people would not have to go back to mama or whatever. You would be able to separate and say, it didn't work out. So you signed this lease together when?
In September of 2005.
And when did you move out, sir?
October 30th of 2005.
Are you still living in the apartment?
No, I'm not.
When did you move out?
February of 2006.
So you only stayed there for a couple of months?
I was there for 6 months.
November, December, January. You stayed till the end of February?
September to the end of February.
I'm not talking about September. He left in October. Did you pay October's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not.
Well, I didn't know that. How do I know that? 2 years ago. Let's talk about November, December, and January. 3 months that you lived there, that he lived with you there for those 3 months.
Nobody. I lived by myself. He refused to sign off the lease, so I was unable to.
You say there was somebody else living in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am. Her friend Tracy, who is also my friend, and her witness's friend moved in at the beginning of November.
How do you know that, sir?
Because I went over there and she was living there.
You went over there when?
To get the rest of my stuff at the beginning of November.
How do you know she was living there?
Because my friend was her boyfriend at the time and he was also going over there.
That's completely untrue.
Did she stay there?
She stayed there occasionally. If we would.
How occasionally?
A couple nights a week. If we went out, she'd stay over. But no, she did not pay rent. None of her things were there.
Well, you should have. How to pay rent? How many bedrooms in this apartment?
1.
Where did she sleep when she stayed over?
In my bed.
So?
Well, I don't think someone who stays 2 nights a week should have to pay rent.
Why not?
I guess.
Was it your agreement with him to move out?
I asked him to move out, yes, because
then
he
you
was
pay the rent.
not paying rent.
Then you pay the rent.
Well, he should have signed off the lease, which he refused to.
And what did you do?
I couldn't do anything. He wouldn't sign off the lease. He kept threatening to come back and get the copies of the keys so he could come in and...
Madam, where were you the last 2 years?
The last 2 years, I've had my own apartment and house, and I've working and going to school.
I mean, but where were you in the last 2 years? If you moved out in February of 2006, now we're talking about a year ago.
Yes.
Where were you in this last year?
I was trying to collect money from him, but...
But he weren't collecting, he didn't give you any money.
Exactly, I couldn't.
Well, then why didn't you sue him in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December? Why?
I was trying to be understanding of his situation with his car and everything like that, and he couldn't hold a job, so there's no way that he could give me any money.
What made you stop being understanding?
Well, because I'm just tired. It's ridiculous.
You lived in the apartment with sometimes Tracy? You pay the rent. What else?
He damaged my property, my couch, and stabbed my comforter.
Forget the comforter. I'm not interested in the 2-year-old comforter. How did he damage your couch?
He poured beer and dip spit all over it.
When?
On November 21st.
That's not true, ma'am.
You have a witness to that?
I do.
Go ahead.
On the day of November 21st, Desiree called me crying. I got over there. There was a gigantic hole in the wall when I walked in. The entire living room was trashed, stuff everywhere, food thrown around.
Where was he?
He was nowhere to be found.
Well, so you didn't see him do anything?
He was there that morning.
He was there that morning.
Just a second. You didn't see him do anything?
No, I didn't see him do anything, but the people that had stayed the night prior to that had seen him come over that morning.
Goodbye. Thank you. You have that Mr. Tatum was the cause of any damage to your property.
Well, because he called me screaming after he did it.
What did he say?
I can't believe you had those guys stay the night.
What guys is he talking about?
We had been drinking at my apartment. I had friends stay the night.
How many friends?
2. They had slept on the couch. And that's when he came over that morning to get his things.
Yes.
And he freaked out.
How do you know that?
Well, because they told me they were there. And then he came in with a tire iron and hit the wall.
What?
And poured everything on my couch.
You have absolutely no proof that he did any of that.
I
And
took
if you have
pictures.
2 friends that you allowed to sleep at your house after they were drinking who witnessed him do it.
They didn't witness him do it. They witnessed him come in and make a scene, and then they left, and then he came back after that. He told me. I talked to him on the phone afterwards.
Did you ever acknowledge to her
No,
that
ma'am.
you destroyed her property?
No, ma'am.
Time to move on. Time to move on and get over it. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is a court, not nonsense. Case is dismissed. That's all. Bye.
Christine Paget says ex-boyfriend Owen Plaster owes for the return of money paid toward his rent and bills. Owen is countersuing, claiming Christine vandalized his apartment.
Ms. Paget, how long were you and Mr. Plaster involved in a relationship?
About 8 years.
And for what period of those 8 years did you live together?
We lived together most of them, but because of our work, we traveled a lot. So a lot of times I was in New York, but we shared the house in Phoenix.
Okay. When was the house in Phoenix purchased?
1997.
And you were living together at the time?
Yes.
Did you move into the house together?
Yes.
House was in your name?
Yes.
And both of you were working?
Yes.
So finances were not an issue when you lived together?
No.
All right. This is your case, Ms. Paget. After this on-again, off-again relationship, it was on for 8 years and then it was off for a while. And then the 2 of you, according to what I read, tried to rekindle the relationship, and you had sold the house.
Yes.
And Mr. Plaster took an apartment. According to you, you didn't want to be bothered with paying half of the rent monthly, so that you prepaid the entire year of 14 months lease to Mr. Plaster so that you didn't have to be bothered.
Exactly.
And shortly after you gave him this check, Mr. Plaster advised you that he had somebody else and he wanted you out.
Yes.
So you want that money back.
Correct.
Mr. Plaster says that that money was not for half the rent. Mr. Plaster says that the 2 of you had an agreement during the time that you moved into this house together, that he contributed to the house, including the mortgage payment while he was living there, something that you agree with, and that you had an agreement that when the house was sold, you would split whatever increased equity there was during the time that you were living together, since he was, in fact, reducing the mortgage with his mortgage payment and paying half the bills on the house, so that what you were really doing when you gave him this check was keeping your promise to give him some of the equity in the house. That's your defense.
Yes.
And you have a counterclaim because you say that when she did move out, she did some vandalizing in the house and took some property that was actually yours. You want that property back and you want some compensation for the vandalism. In 1997, Miss Paget, when you purchased the house, what did you purchase the house for? You remember the purchase?
$108,000.
And what did you sell it for?
I sold it for $236,000.
When did you sell it?
October 2005.
And when did you give Mr. Plaster this check for the rent?
Well, actually, it was bank transfers from my bank account into his bank account. When we decided to rent this apartment in
Just tell me, what date did you give him the check?
I deposited money on 10/11
05?
for $6,000, and then on 10/24 for another $1,000.
Also in October of 2005, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I assume that when you lived together for these 8 years, you had some sort of a discussion about what was going to happen with the equity in the house.
Absolutely.
And what was the discussion?
Exactly right as you said. However, the important part of that story that was left out was that he moved out of the house in January 2005. Had he stayed with me till October 2005, I probably would have honored that agreement. But at the time when he moved out to move in with a friend of his, I asked him, because he was already living in another bedroom, and I had asked him to please stay on as a roommate, help me sell the house. I didn't have a job at the time. You know, you're putting me in dire straits if you move out. Stay with me. Let's get the house sold. Your daughter's getting married. We can take care of this. I said, if you leave, you're not getting nothing because you're leaving me in dire straits and I have to maintain the residence for 10 months until I sold it by myself with no job. I had to get roommates to help me, you know, organize.
Well, I understand your problem, Miss Paget. However, you cannot unilaterally change what you told me you had. You had a contract with Mr. Plaster that seems perfectly reasonable to me, that since the two of you had a financial arrangement where each of you was contributing to this household and reducing the mortgage, you were living together as a family, it is perfectly reasonable to have had the contract that you acknowledged that you had, that when and if the house was sold, you would give him, because he had been paying into the house, a portion of the profit from the house.
Yes.
Perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
Now, the fact that he decided to move out and you said to him, if you move out, I'm not going to honor that contract, doesn't mean that that happens. Unless he says, well, fine, I'm moving out anyway, and I agree that you don't have to honor the contract. But that's not what happened.
That is what happened.
No. No, that's not what you told me.
No, that
you
is what
told me.
happened.
Now, listen to me. What you told me was you said to him, if you move out,
right,
I'm not going to honor our agreement.
And he agreed.
No,
and
you said he moved out anyway.
Right.
Well, that's not agreeing with you, madam. He just left. That's not saying I agree that you don't have to honor the contract. He just says, I'm leaving anyway. So while he does not have a counterclaim for that, I am finding that the money that you gave him was for the contract that you had with him for the 8 years that you lived together in this house that you sold, and that you sold for a substantial profit. You more than doubled your money. He paid down the mortgage, and he should be entitled to a portion of that. So, has he sued you on the contract that you had to give him half the profits of the house?
No.
Well, he should.
Because it was agreed that we didn't.
No. Listen to me. I don't believe that at all. And I'm telling you that if he doesn't sue you for half the profits on the house, consider yourself really lucky that I'm speaking. Consider yourself, Miss Paget, really lucky. Because if he sued you in a court where I was sitting, that had a much higher jurisdiction than the $5,000 I have, I would find that you had a contract with him that he fulfilled by contributing to the house for the 8 years that you lived together, and that you cannot unilaterally breach that contract because you didn't want him to leave and leave you in the lurch for 10 months. I might do something equitable, like cutting 10 months' worth of the mortgage payments out and carving that out of his share of the profits. But I'm telling you right now, for the $6,000 that you gave him, you got away with a bargain. I wouldn't complain. Now I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Go ahead.
This is a case of a woman scorned.
Listen, don't tell me what it's about, sir. Don't tell me what a case is about, sir. I'm asking you whether you have a legitimate counterclaim that you want me to hear, or whether you just want to forget it.
Well, once I let her know that I was seeing someone else, she came to get her things, and I gave her a few days in the apartment to get her stuff out. And when I returned, I've got photographs of the vandalism.
I'd like to see the photographs, Bert, please.
And I've got lots of notes that were left and taped on the walls, just crazy things all over the place. Doors were written on, mirrors were written on, photographs stapled to the walls, photographs torn up, my guitars and other property just thrown everywhere. All of my things that were in boxes were dumped in bathtubs and in closet floors, along with half-eaten hamburgers and just
She was
trash.
very angry.
She was very angry.
Are you still in that apartment?
Yes.
How much did it cost you to clean it up?
It was very difficult to clean it up.
My question was, I saw the picture, sir. How much did it cost you to clean up the apartment?
Nothing. Just my own time.
So it took your time. Show these photographs to the plaintiff, please. Mr. Plaster, just for my own information, sir, why did you allow Miss Padgett to move her things into the apartment if you were seeing someone else?
I started seeing someone else after her things were in the apartment.
Not before.
Correct. We moved into the apartment, but she moved to New Jersey, so she only stayed a few days in the apartment at all.
Well, she was sort of hoping that things would work out between you, I assume, which is why she moved her things into the apartment. She didn't move into the apartment for storage purposes. Why'd you trash the apartment?
Because he just didn't face me. And I just would like to say something about the mortgage. He did not contribute to the mortgage every month.
Miss Padgett,
He
Miss
didn't.
Padgett, I got the information from the two of you before I started to hear your case. And that was the two of you lived together peacefully for 8 years. You seem like an intelligent woman. You both worked. According to the both of you, each of you contributed to the running of the household, and that money was never an issue. And being an intelligent woman, myself, I have to assume that if he wasn't paying his fair share of the house, you wouldn't have kept him around for 8 years. What I'm telling you is the law says just because you say the agreement is over doesn't make it over.
But he moved out.
I don't care whether he moved out. Miss Padgett, I'm going to try one more time, and then I'm not going to hear any more from you. Let us say he wasn't ready to move out of the house, but you were ready to sell it. Do you think you could have sold the house without his permission?
Absolutely.
Of course, because the house is in your name.
Correct.
He's not a slave. He can move if he wants to. That doesn't mean that when you sell the house, he's not entitled to, up until the time he moved out, a portion of the increase in the value of the house, because that was your agreement. Now, you have no right to do what you did here, and he has to be compensated for that, even his time.
I paid for the security deposit on the apartment and all the first month's rent.
No, just a second. In addition to the $6,000 that you gave him, you wrote a check right out to the landlord?
Yes.
How much?
Well, the monthly rent was $1,100 and something a
So it was
month.
at least $1,100.
So it was least $1,100
Okay,
plus
now
security
is that,
deposit was.
Is that in addition to the $6,000?
Yes.
Well, then, sir, you can use that $1,100, but you're going to get back to clean up the apartment. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. It's over. Goodbye.
Michelle Compton is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old Jamie Klein, for damaging her car when she backed out of their driveway.
This is the boyfriend.
Yes.
You used to be the roommate of the defendant, is that right?
Yes.
And these two people were roommates while you and your boyfriend were together.
Yes.
Was there anybody else living in the apartment? Or just the two of you?
Just us two.
The two of you?
Yep.
Did you ever live there?
No.
Did you stay there?
Yes, I did.
How frequently?
I would stay probably the whole month, other than 2 or 3 nights. I'd go spend the night at my mom's or my friend's.
So you were there full time?
Yes.
From when to when?
From when Adam told me he got the house with Jamie, and then from the day we left.
Well, give me the dates. I don't know that. I don't have a crystal ball.
September 1st to, I think March 18th, May 18th, something like that.
So you were there all that time?
Yes.
How did you split the bills?
When moving in, I worked at Meijer. I only made about $105 a week, and I had other bills to pay. And I told Adam that I don't have any money to pay any bills, and that if he does want me to stay with him, he knows that he is paying it, and he said that's
Miss
fine.
Klein,
Yeah.
how did you split the rent?
Well, we first on the agreement was just me and Adam, and then when he said she was moving in, I even asked her. I said, well, we need to split it. Well, I'm working at Myers right now.
She did not ask me that.
Don't speak.
She said...
Just a minute. Just ask me. You split it 2 ways?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She has a counterclaim that I'll get to in a minute. Okay. It is your claim that Miss Klein damaged your car while backing out of the driveway.
Yep.
And you want her to pay for the damage to your car.
Yes,
That's
I
what
do.
your lawsuit is about, $1,700. Miss Klein says you shouldn't have blocked her car. And that was your habit. So she nicked it a little bit, and she's sorry, right? You can't hit her car.
You're right, but I went up there and asked her 3 times to move her car.
What date was that?
I do believe it was the 16th of
Of what?
Of March.
So right before you all went your own way.
Yep.
Why didn't you move the car?
She did not ask me to move the car. Adam asked me if I would clean the room while he's at work, so I was in the room cleaning with the music on. And she never entered the room and asked me to move my car.
And I knocked on the door.
No, she did
every
not.
time and said, I need to go take kids to school. I need you to move your car. She didn't come out of the room.
Who were you going to take to school?
I have a daycare, so I had to take the kids to school.
So she didn't move the car, so you hit it.
Yep, well, I tried backing out myself, and then I hit it, and then I went upstairs, and I told her about it, and I said, I gotta go take kids to school, so when I come back, I'll give you my insurance. I come back, and she's gone. So then I go back to work. About 20 minutes later, I come back to see if she's there, and the police are there. So she left and came back, and then I gave her all my insurance and all that stuff.
So what happened with the insurance?
I called my dad and asked him. He called the insurance agency, and they said because it was on private property that they will not do anything.
Well, that's not true. That's baloney. Let me see a letter from the insurance company.
I didn't get one, Your Honor.
Well, you should have one, my dear. You can't rely on your dad. How old are you?
20.
Well, grown enough to live outside the home, you're old enough to be responsible. She has no right to hit your car. Shouldn't have blocked her.
The car was not blocked.
Well, clearly, it was more difficult to get out.
That's not
Yeah,
true. That's not right.
Well, if she hit your car, she of necessity had to hit your car
She
with
did
her
it on
car.
purpose.
Listen to me! When my mouth starts to move, yours doesn't.
Okay.
Nobody with half a brain uses their own car, which might very well be damaged if she hit her car
I have
with
pictures
your
of my
car.
car.
That's just stupid, and she's not stupid. The only thing she was stupid about is letting you live in this apartment for all those months rent-free and splitting the rent because you didn't have a job that paid you enough. You didn't have a job that paid you enough to pay rent, live at home. And if your boyfriend wanted to sleep with you, then he should have paid 2/3 and she paid 1/3. You got it?
Got it.
She doesn't have to pay for you the pleasure that you had to spending the night with her.
She had people spend the night also, Your Honor. It
We're
wasn't
not
just me
talking
over.
about spending the night. We're talking about...
She would have boys come and stay for
listen,
months at a
listen,
time.
Listen to me. We're not talking about spending the night. We're talking about living there. So, what you have to do is you have to call her insurance company. She's already acknowledged she hit your car. She had no right to hit your car, and our insurance company will pay for it. Easy. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. Unpaid rent. You had no agreement with her to pay rent. Forget the rent, okay? Bills. You should have had an agreement. You didn't have an agreement. Damage to and return of value of property. Now I'll hear that. Go.
I have some letters from some witnesses on some of these
I
things.
don't take letters from... listen to me. I don't take letters from witnesses. That's hearsay.
Okay. What she did couple times, she's hid my keys. So he had to take me to work one morning because my keys just came up missing, even though I put them on the table every day. When they moved out, I cleaned my whole house top to bottom, and I couldn't find them. Moved all my furniture, they're gone. And my contact case, one morning I woke up and I stuck my contact in my eye. It had alcohol in my contact case. So I had to go and order new contacts because my contacts were ruined because they were soaking alcohol. I got the police report on that. And then also, the day that they moved out, I went to the bank, came back, took my class ring and my ring off, put it on a little jewelry box that I have in the closet, and I come back about 2 or 3 hours later and it's gone. Them two are the only ones in the house. And I asked her, she didn't know what I was talking about. Well, my rings were there when I left. I come back and they're gone.
And how many people were in the house when you were gone?
When I left, it was just her and Adam.
Well, how do you know that there weren't other
Because
people?
my
I'm
boyfriend-
speaking. How do you know that there weren't other people in the house moving them out?
Because my boyfriend was there for
So your
about
boyfriend,
half an
just a
hour.
second. So your boyfriend was there.
For just a few minutes after I left.
So your boyfriend was there.
Yeah.
Who was with your boyfriend?
Nobody.
So then, now we know of 3 people that were in the house when you weren't there, right?
Right.
But your boyfriend was there, maybe with other people. I don't know that. Didn't work out. Never works out when 2 people live together and there are boyfriends and girlfriends. You damaged her car. You have to take responsibility for that. You have full insurance on your car, and you've given her your insurance? Fine. You have to use that.
Okay.
She has acknowledged responsibility. Hitting your car, it was a stationary vehicle. There's no question of fault. Her insurance company has to pay for it. And if they don't, and you have proof that for some reason they decline coverage, well, you can come back. But before you come to court just to get even a little bit, what you have to do is you have to go through the procedure so that you don't bother the judge. Do you understand? Goodbye.
Lori Abarca says former client Matthew Finch pulled his kids out of her daycare without notice. Matthew is countersuing, claiming Lori made a false CPS report.
Mrs. Abarca, this is a pretty nasty case. According to your complaint, the defendant is the former husband of your best friend.
Yes.
What's your former wife's name?
Stacy.
Stacy. And they have 2 children. And you were providing daycare in your home for their 2 children.
Correct.
And subsequent to their separation, you took care of the children for how long?
Approximately 9 months, from August of 2004 until April 1st of 2005.
And then it is your claim that Mr. Finch, without cause, removed the children from your daycare. He did, in fact, give you 2 weeks' notice and paid you, according to what I've read here, for the 2 weeks' notice.
Yes.
That's correct.
But your claim is that Mr. Finch knew that he had an obligation to keep the children there, so you want him to pay for daycare for how long?
I just want him to pay for daycare up until the date that their mother gave me the 2 weeks' notice, because she was the only one that was able to make the daycare decision per their court order.
Just shh. Don't.
Okay.
On what date did she give you the 2 weeks' notice?
I believe it was May 12th.
Okay. So let's deal with that part of the complaint first.
Okay.
You'll get into the incident because there's much more to this case than these few weeks. When Mr. Finch gave you the 2 weeks' notice on April 1st and tendered payment for those 2 weeks, did you take his payment?
Yes.
So then let us deal with this issue swiftly.
Okay.
You're entitled to nothing. If you said to Mr. Finch, I'm not taking your money, it is my friend who is responsible for giving me the 2 weeks' notice, not you, I would go on with that part of your lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But since you took his money, I'm not entertaining any money for April or 2 weeks in May. Now let's move on to the next part of your claim. The next part of your claim is that there was an incident on or about April 1st involving your husband and the defendant. And as a result of that, Mr. Finch called the state licensing board and made false allegations against you. Mr. Finch said what he reported to the state licensing board was true, correct?
That's correct.
The counterclaim that I have by Mr. Finch is that you called Child Protective Services complaining about Mr. Finch and alleging that he in some way inappropriately touched one or both of his children. That's the allegation.
Right.
So, did you in fact call Child Protective Services?
I did.
On what date?
April 4th.
And what did you tell them in this 4-4 report?
I told them that his oldest daughter, Kiana, for the last month and a half had been reacting extremely badly when he would come to pick her up. She would start crying hysterically. She would run to the background, anybody, my children, my husband, myself, that she could get to.
Is that what you told the state so far?
Yes.
What else did you tell them?
And I told them that I felt that there was something going on at the house. I didn't know what, but I know that somebody needed to investigate it. When I did make that phone call, Stacy was right beside me, in full agreement with me calling, because for several weeks before...
Don't tell me about Stacy.
Okay. For several weeks before, I had spoken to Stacy and Matt about Kiana's behavior. It would be so bad at times that he would come to pick up both of the girls and have to leave with just Lexi, the little one, and leave Kiana at my home until her mother or her stepfather could come and pick her up because she wouldn't go with him.
No, she doesn't. Shh. Okay.
So I confronted Stacy about what was going on and told her that I was very uncomfortable with the way that Kiana was reacting and that I was very concerned that something was happening over at his house.
No, she doesn't include that.
This revelation, Ms. Abarca, that you had to call and make a substantive report to Child Protective Services did not occur until after Mr. Finch removed the children from your daycare. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Yeah. The first time that you called and made a substantive report, despite what you say you had been seeing for the last month and a half, is 3 days after he removed the children from your daycare.
Yes.
There's certain hard data, and then there's certain soft data. Your conversations with your friend Stacy is soft data. The timing of these events is hard data, which in my view very often suggests that you can make a leap with regard to things like motive. You get me?
Yes.
Good. Now, did you subsequently go to the family court with regard to her allegations
Yes,
of
I did.
abuse?
Yes, I did.
And was there a hearing?
There was a hearing.
And subsequent to the hearing, was your time with your children diminished, supervised, increased?
Stayed the same. We were sent to family court counseling after that.
Who was?
Me and my ex-wife.
Just the two of you?
Correct.
And did you both go to counseling?
I requested private mediation. I figured 1 hour with the family court services was not efficient time to handle this situation, and therefore I was granted time to get a private mediation.
And as a result of the mediation, what happened?
My time was increased.
To what?
To 50%.
It had been previous to that, how much?
It was only 37% time.
Subsequent to the call to Child Protective Services, was your daughter subjected to a physical examination?
Yes, both daughters were. And I do have the report here.
Can I see it,
Would you like to
please?
see it? For both daughters.
Their mother requested it when she took them for those exams. It wasn't
CPS
court ordered.
requested
It wasn't court ordered or anything through CPS. Stacy called and made those appointments.
Listen to me, madam. What you're giving me is hearsay. The objective data is you made a report. As a result of that report and subsequent to that report, these children were subjected to physical examinations. That was precipitated by your call. And if their mother had seen signs that she felt were untoward, she could have taken the children without your call to Child Protective Services. Your call to Child Protective Services inspired this action. Now I want to know what happened April 1st.
Okay. April 1st, Matt calls me probably around 5 o'clock, letting me know that he's on his way to pick up the girls.
And how many days a week had he picked up the children?
He picked them up at least 85% of the 9 months that they were with me, because their mother would work nights and evenings and stuff like that.
How old are your children?
They're 6 and 8 now.
So now he came to pick up the children on April 1st.
He had called me and let me know he was coming to get them. And
As I do every day.
Listen, if you interrupt again, it's not going to go well for you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So far, you don't feel as if I'm favoring her, do you?
Not at all.
Then keep your mouth shut until I look at you and ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Go.
His phone call was that he wanted to change his payment dates on the way over. I said, no, we're not going to change them. They're in a contract. You've signed it. This is the way that it's been for 9 months. And he got very angry.
No, just a second. No. Did he tell you why he wanted to change his payment dates?
No, he didn't.
Okay. And you said, no, you can't.
Right.
If your friend Stacy had called and said, I would like to change the payment date, what would you have answered her?
I would have talked to her about it.
Right.
Which is what I tried to do with Matt.
No, that's not what you said. You said absolutely not.
Okay.
That's what you just told me.
Well,
I'm
you're
just
right.
repeating your words.
Well, no, actually, he called me and told me he wanted to change the payment dates.
And you just told me you said absolutely not. You have a contract.
And I said to him, well, your payment's due today. And he then told me that he wasn't going to pay me when he came to pick up the girls and got angry and started yelling at me. And I said to him, you know what, Matt, you have a contract with me. These are the same dates you've always made payment.
Continue.
Don't speak to her! And it's not your job to tell her to continue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You keep saying, yes, ma'am. Is there something wrong with you? Do you have problem controlling yourself?
Not at all.
Well, it seems to me you do. Go ahead.
He got very hostile with me on the phone, yelling and screaming.
No,
so
you
I
were
said,
hostile.
Well, no.
You were hostile.
It was a reaction to him.
You know what the big mistake was?
What's that?
The big mistake was choosing you as a daycare provider. When you have a best friend who is divorcing her husband and there are bad feelings that exist between the two people, to have someone as a child care provider who is aligned with one of the parents is a monumental mistake. Monumental. Because you are emotionally invested in his ex-wife and her welfare, not emotionally invested in his welfare, and that comes through loud and clear. Having said that, we will move on. So he came to pick up the children, and what happened, Ms. Abarca, when he came to pick up the children?
When he came to pick up the kids, my husband went outside to go talk to him because we'd had many, many incidences with his youngest daughter, Lexi, being physically abusive to our son. And it was just...
This is the husband?
This is my husband.
What was he doing home?
He was already done working for the day.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a forklift mechanic for Toyota.
Let me understand this, Ms. Abarca. You sent him outside.
No.
You said you were inside with the girls, so your husband went outside to speak to him.
Right.
Well, you must have, when you got off the phone, said to your husband, he's coming over and he says he's not going to pay me. Got to discuss that with him. And you have to discuss with him his daughter's aggressive behavior, right?
Yes, I spoke to him about the phone call with Matt and about the incident we had just had with Lexi and Cole on Matt's way over to come and pick up the girls.
Well, why don't you tell me about the incident between your son, who was how old?
At that time, he was 18 months old.
And the daughter, who was how old?
Lexi was 5.5.
So why don't you tell me about that incident?
I believe on that day, she pushed him down. She would pull his hair and pull him down. You know, just different little things like that that were constant. And I sat down with Lexi, and I said, you know, Lexi, we've been having a lot of problems with this kind of behavior. What is wrong? Why is it that you and Cole can't seem to get along? What can we do to change it? And she says to me that her father told her that if there's something she wants or Cole does something that she doesn't like, then she can basically take matters into her own hand. If she needs to push him away from her or do something like that, that's what he told her. The 8-year-old daughter, Kiana, was there as well. Kiana confirmed that was the discussion that they had in their vehicle and also stated that there was a boy she was having problems with at school, and Matt told her that if he continued to bother her, she could go ahead and punch him.
Where were you when this was going on with the 5-year-old and your 18-month-old?
I was in my dining room.
And where were they?
They were in my living room, which there's a huge opening.
Shh. That's not supposed to happen. It's your responsibility if the 5-year-old pushes down the 18-month-old. It's your responsibility because you are providing inadequate supervision of the children. I don't care whether you agree or not.
Children are children.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And a 5-year-old may push down an 18-month-old, and an 18-month-old may pull a 5-year-old's hair.
Right.
Or may take something away, and the 5-year-old says you can't do that.
Absolutely.
You just answered your own question.
Lori Abarca claims former client Matthew Finch owes for daycare fees, defamation of character, and a false police report.
Stand up. All right. Mr. Abarca, you tell me what you said to Mr. Finch when you went outside.
I walked up to Mr.
Look
Finch.
at me. You walked up to Mr. Finch and said...
He was still in his vehicle. I explained to him...
No, tell me what you said.
I said, Matt, there was a situation with the 2 kids. Lexi approached Cole, grabbed the ball from him, pushed it back into his chest, and then grabbed him by his hair and pulled him to the ground. When Lori confronted Lexi about it, Lexi explained that if she felt somebody was picking on her, it would be all right for her to go ahead and do something back, retaliate.
Okay, so your wife said to you that the little girl said, my daddy says that somebody is picking on me, then I have the right to do something back to them. Correct?
Correct.
And what did Mr. Finch say to you?
He got out of his car, said he never said that, got into my face. I explained to him, would you please not allow Lexi to retaliate, that if she has a problem, she needs to go to Lori. I don't appreciate our baby being pulled down to the ground by his hair, and that conduct is not okay.
Mrs. Abarca, I have 11 grandchildren. I've seen them all playing around together.
Right.
If one of them, who's 5, gets annoyed at one of them who's 2 because they pull something out of their hand, they'll push them. That's not cause for World War III.
No, you're right.
That
I
just
agree.
happens.
I agree, but it was much more severe than that. And I have statements that I've written to Matt for suspensions, breaking down the situations. I believe I gave you copies of all of those.
Why did you give them to Matt instead of Stacy?
Because Matt was the one that came and picked up the children most of all the time.
Miss Abarca, this was your best friend's children.
Right.
Are you telling me that you didn't get on the phone in the evening after each of these instances and say to Stacy, listen, Stacy, we really have to talk about the girls.
Absolutely.
I'm having trouble with the girls.
Yes.
And what did Stacy tell you?
That she was in full agreement with everything I had. They knew Lexi was having aggression problems. She was getting in trouble at school almost, and they knew that it was something that they needed to work with.
So
And the
that's what,
reason-
just a second, so that's what your best friend told you?
Right.
So what did she do from the time you started to tell her about the problems with the girls and the time that he finally removed the children from your daycare? What had your friend Stacy done?
Lexi would get in trouble for various different instances. She would go home and be grounded, that kind of thing.
I'm asking you whether her mother ever took her to a therapy session, whether took her to a counselor.
She
Just
tried
give me a
to.
yes or a no.
Matt refused to let her go to counseling.
Just a second. Just give me a yes or a no.
Well, it's kind of a gray area because she wanted to take him to counseling and Matt refused.
You should never have cared for these children. Never in a million years should you have been involved with these two children with the attitude that you have towards him. In any event, you called the state and reported what you considered his aggressive moves toward you.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
You had every right to do that.
Exactly.
He did it on April 4th, 3.5 days afterwards, and after he saw Stacy at court filing papers.
Are
That's
they
when he
open
went
on the
down.
weekend?
Just a second. Are you asking me a question?
No, they're not.
Are you asking me a question?
They're open on Friday.
You too. You should never have cared for these children.
I agree. I've definitely
And never
learned
have
my
gotten
lesson.
him involved in taking your complaint outside to him, complaint that just happened to have been made at the same exact time that you had just had a telephone altercation with him about payment. Sit down. I'm not aggrieved at all by Mr. Finch's conduct in reporting your husband's conduct to the state and letting them come out and take a look at what's going on in your house, because based upon what you told me, there is inadequate supervision of children.
They didn't.
I'm speaking in your home, based upon what you just told me. What really burns me is your motivation for calling Child Protective Services about this father. That's what really burns me, because it was clear to me from reading the timeline in this, your motivation. You chose not to report the problems with the child generally. You chose to identify Mr. Finch as the possible perpetrator of a problem.
That's not, I told them the entire situation.
You want to tell you something, Miss Albaka? I don't believe you. And the reason I don't believe you is Stacy still your best friend?
Stacy and I are still friends. Yes.
That's why I don't believe you, because you would not have called Child Protective Services on your best friend. There is a difference between him calling the state, and the worst thing that can happen to you is you could be investigated and they might not give you a license to care for children in your house. And you calling Child Protective Services and by innuendo suggesting something inappropriate's going on. It was very subtle. And I've seen and heard over the course of 35 years that subtle innuendo that suggests that a father is in some way inappropriately touching his children, which causes all kinds of red lights to go on with Child Protective Services. And your motivations were just that, judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helzer stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother Lori are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
You are suing Mrs. Hessler because her 16-year-old daughter, according to you, stood you up for the prom.
Yes.
For your senior prom. And you had a lot of expenses, and you believe that her mother is responsible for her standing you up.
No, not necessarily, Your Honor. I don't
Well,
feel
she's
that...
responsible because you can't sue her daughter, so you have to sue her mother. Ms. Helser says that her daughter did not stand you up, that you didn't should, but she has a substantial counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that since you believed you were stood up for the prom, you have embarked upon a course of conduct that amounts to harassment and defamation of her daughter's character, which forced her to leave school because she flunked all of her finals, and it became a catastrophe, and she has a counterclaim. When did you invite Dana to the prom?
About May 20th.
Did you do it in person?
No, ma'am. I was introduced to her through a friend of mine. It was her best friend, and I was on the internet, and she instant messaged me. She sent me a message, and...
Who did?
Diana.
Diana sent you a message.
Right.
Saying what?
Just starting a conversation, just, hi, my name is Diana, something to that effect.
So you didn't ask her to the prom?
I did. Eventually, I did.
In person or over the internet?
Over the internet and in person.
Is that right?
I don't remember him asking me in person to prom, no.
How do you believe he asked you to the prom?
Over the internet, we were discussing the fact that he needed to date, and he said, you know, do you want to go with me, basically? And, I said,
And what did you say?
I said, okay.
You said, okay, so now you had a date. And you knew when you go to the same school?
Yes.
So you knew when the prom was?
Yes.
Okay. So you had to buy, you rented a tux.
No, I bought a tux.
Bought a tux. Figure stop growing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Buy tickets?
Yes, Your Honor.
Rented a car?
No, I was gonna drive.
Okay. Tux, tickets. What else?
I also had dinner reservations. There was no fee for making the reservations, but there was for canceling reservations.
And what were all your expenses?
My expenses totaled to be, I believe, about $500 and some odd dollars.
How did you end up going to the prom, Mr. Banks?
No, ma'am.
Did not?
No.
Tell me what happened. What was the date of the prom?
Saturday, June 4th.
And just prior to June 4th, when had you last spoken with Diana?
June 3rd.
Where did you speak to her?
I spoke with her at school.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I informed her that I'd be getting everything ready. And
Did she tell you what color her dress was?
Yes, it was pink.
Did she tell you what kind of flowers she liked?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the flowers?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of flowers did you get?
I got a bouquet of roses, and I got a corsage and a hand thing. I don't know.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9.
Did you tell her what time you'd pick her up?
Yes, Your Honor. I told her I'd be there to pick her up at 4.
So what happened, Mr. Banks?
Saturday, I had been running around picking things up, doing everything, getting everything ready. I hadn't spoken with her, but I had been speaking with her best friend, the one that set us up, and my best friend, because we were going to double date to prom. I had been with her friend's date all day, and I was on my way to pick her up, and I got a phone call from her friend saying that she had an allergy attack and she couldn't go to prom.
What time was that?
I'd have to say about 3:50.
Go ahead.
I was getting ready for prom at about 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Got dressed, went and got my nails done, and I made my hair appointment. I went and picked up my dress. When I was getting my nails done, I did have an allergy attack, and I went home and I tried to call John after talking to my mom. I called him, and his sister answered, saying that he would be out with friends all night. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna stay home for a while. A friend of mine called and said, Diana, or aren't you gonna go to prom? And I said, no, I don't feel good. She says, would you like to come over, hang out, and we're not gonna go do anything? And I said, okay. We ended up going over to another friend's house, just relaxing and watching movies the rest of the night, and we fell asleep.
Well, that's pretty outrageous, my dear Diana. That's pretty outrageous of you. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
You agree with I disagree.
Excuse me, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to your daughter, whose conduct was outrageous. Now, if you have an allergy attack and you are bedridden, that's one thing. But to go over to a friend's house, hang out and watch a movie is something entirely different. And I would be angry too if I got stood up at the last minute.
I had not yet given my permission for them to go.
I don't care.
Okay.
Whether you gave your permission or not. Did she use her own money to buy the dress?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't know about it?
I did know about it.
All right. And when you found out about it, did you say to her, I haven't given you permission?
Yes, ma'am.
When she went to get her hair and nails done, did you say to her, don't bother to have your hair and nails done because I haven't given you permission?
What I said was I haven't yet met Mr. Banks and I haven't given my permission. I need to meet him.
Miss Helsa, it's not an excuse. I'm saying that your daughter's conduct was reprehensible for a 16-year-old. She stood him up for his prom.
Okay.
And she stood him up not because she was sick, because she decided she didn't want to go. And she went to a friend's house and hung out with friends. And that is reprehensible.
Is that what you did?
No.
Is that what you did?
That is what I did.
You didn't know that?
Did you stand him up because you didn't want to go, or did you stand him up because you went and had an allergy attack and then went over to Julie's house?
It was because I had an allergy attack and my friend had wanted me to come over because she knew I wasn't feeling well and wanted to hang out.
Listen to me. If you have a debilitating allergy attack, you stay home. Go ahead.
That Saturday was prom, June 4th. June 5th, I broke my rib. June 5th, playing basketball, and so June 6th, I stayed home, which was a Monday. I called her best friend on the phone, we talked about it because she felt bad as well because she set us up together. And I decided to call Mrs. Helser, and we spoke on the phone for a while. She was a really nice lady, and she also felt that what she did was inappropriate. And I know that she's not legally obligated to pay me back because, you know, it's an agreement to go to a social event, and that's not a contract. However, her mother being of age and me being of age, she did make a verbal contract over the phone, and I have a witness here. Her best friend is here to testify because she was on the phone when I called her.
What did her mother say?
We spoke about what Diana really did on prom night.
Well, what did you say to her mother? Her mother's here. She's a party. You can tell me what you said to her mother.
I told her that I had an agreement to go to prom with her, and she informed me that she was aware of that Diana actually had an allergy attack. And I told her no, that Diana actually decided to spend the day with her boyfriend because I guess apparently she got a boyfriend that morning and he asked her not to go.
She got a boyfriend that morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning she got a boyfriend and she decided, and he asked her not to go. So, you know, and that's perfectly fine. But
Are you saying that somebody knows that? That you have a witness here?
That I was on the phone and that she told her that? Yes, I have a witness here.
I'd like to see the witness.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Kayla Brett.
Kayla, are you a friend of hers?
Not anymore, but I was.
Were you the girl who was supposed to double date with them?
Yes.
You had originally set them up? Did you have a conversation with Diana with regard to why she didn't go to the prom with him?
Yes, I did. I called her to make sure that she was ready to go because John was on his way, and she had informed me that she did not want to go.
Did she say why she didn't want to go?
She said she had an allergy attack, but as I continued to talk to her later on that day before my date came to pick me up, she told me that, or I think it was June 5th, that she told me she had spent the night at her boyfriend's house.
What boyfriend?
His name is Jason.
So she said she spent the evening with Jason?
Yes.
Prom evening with Jason?
Yes. She also had, there's a website called MySpace. I don't know if you're familiar. It's
I don't do that machine.
It's a website where you go and you can write journal entries on there, leave comments for friends, and post pictures up there. She had left a blog explaining what she had done that day, and she said that she was at a friend's house roasting marshmallows and she had spent the night there. That's basically confirmed that what she was doing, and I did have a conversation with her, and I was quite upset, and I told her everything, how messed up it was that she had done that.
That's pretty messed up. Did you tell your mother that? Look at me. Did you tell your mother you were going to spend the night with Jason?
I told my mom I was going to spend the night over at Julie's, and I told my mom that we were going over to Jason's to watch a movie. And
your mother just said the word Julie. I never heard your mother say Jason. Your mother was whispered to you, you went to Julie's.
I did go to Julie's, ma'am. We went over to Jason's, who was not my boyfriend.
Just a second. So from Julie's house, you went to Jason's house? Mm-hmm. Didn't have an attack in between getting from Julie's house to Jason's house, did you?
They're neighbors, no.
Didn't have an attack between Julie's house and Jason's house, did you?
No, ma'am.
And she did call me and checked in, and she called at midnight and let me know that they were just about to finish up a movie and that she would be back at Julie's by 1.
When you spoke to Mr. Banks on the phone 2 days later, did you tell him that you would compensate him for his expenses?
No, ma'am, I did not.
What did you say to him?
I said I needed to see receipts.
So you did discuss expenses?
We discussed expenses.
Fine, and you said I needed to see receipts.
Before I would even consider a discussion.
I don't believe you.
Seriously.
I don't believe you. Yep, I believe that you said to him, I will pay those expenses, but I have to see receipts.
I have emails here where he's saying that I agreed to pay $270 for prom tight. Diana said, quote, Diana said she's going to pay me $270 for prom. Hit me up. And then to Kayla, who responded, I say $300 even. What's an extra $30?
Listen, what I said to you was you had a discussion with Mr. Banks, and you are under no legal obligation. I don't believe you are under a legal obligation, but for the fact that you agreed to pay him.
I didn't agree to pay him.
Your Honor.
Just a second. In order to have a contract, Mr. Banks, let me explain something. It gets to be a little bit tricky. There has to be, in order to have a valid contract, there has to be some consideration. That means that each person is giving something. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
What would be the consideration in your judgment for Ms. Helser to make an agreement to pay you any part of your prom expenses?
I think she felt morally obligated. She still stated to me that Diana had just gotten a job. I didn't know Diana had a job. She said Diana had just gotten a job and that she'd make Diana pay me back my money as long as I had receipts. And I have receipts here right now.
Just a second. So she said she would make Diana pay you back.
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe you.
18-year-old John Banks Jr. says 16-year-old Diana Helser stood him up for his prom. Diana and her mother Lori are countersuing for the cost of summer school classes and defamation of character.
Go ahead.
I was on the other line. He had three-wayed Miss Helser. While I was on the phone, she did say that Diana would pay for the expenses out of her own paychecks because she had just gotten a job.
That's not true. What I said was I would consider based on seeing the receipts. And whether or not you were on the line.
Ms. Helser?
Yes.
I'm going to flip over for a moment to your counterclaim, which I'm prepared to hear in 30 seconds or less. He's got a claim for maybe $500. He's got receipts that totally says maybe $500. You have a $4,000 counterclaim because,
Yes,
according to you, your daughter was harassed, defamed, etc. She flunked all of her finals, because of what he did. So you
Yes.
want to get there, please? Diana?
Yes, ma'am.
Start with the ad.
I had been on MySpace and I saw a ad that Kayla had posted about paying people to kick my...
Read it directly.
Just as how, you don't have to read it to me.
Okay.
What does that have to do with him if Kayla wrote something?
John had confronted some girls at school about...
Don't tell me any hearsay. I don't want to hear any
Sign it.
hearsay.
See it.
He had been talking to Kayla on the conversation that I have in front of me about two girls that are going to beat my... and that basically I would look better if my was kicked.
What else?
Okay. In this email, he's saying that she'll look even worse after getting her beat. The girl that's going to beat her is Jason's ex-girlfriend, because her and Diana used to be friends, and she thinks that's f***ed up, that she's with her ex. Oh, well, whatever the reason is, she wants to beat her. It'll work. Hit me back.
What does that have to do with him?
This is
That's
his
what he
word
said.
saying that
I don't care.
he's
What does
got
that have
two
to do with
girls.
him? According to that email, Jason, the new boyfriend, had an ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend of Jason is going to beat her up.
He's got two girls at school ready to beat my daughters.
No. Listen to me. What you just read to me was that the girl is Jason's ex-girlfriend who is angry with her. He may not discourage it. He may even like it. But that's what you just read to me.
I disagree.
Well, I don't care what you agree with, Miss Helser. I would listen to you if you took responsibility for your daughter's bad behavior and said to me, listen, this was a teenage thing. I feel responsible for my daughter's bad behavior. Blew him off, and he was a very nice young man. And he
I
had
didn't
gone-
know
I'm
that.
speaking. I'm speaking. Well, he was a very nice young man. He called you 2 days later. He called you most respectfully. Otherwise, you would have hung up on him. He called you most respectfully and said to you, this is what your daughter did, and it was not the right thing to do. So he was most respectful. And if you came into court, or didn't even have to come to court, if you said to him, look, I think what my daughter did was reprehensible, and I'm going to do the best I can to cover your expenses, and I'll make my daughter pay me back for whatever your costs were, because what she did was immature. She's only 16, but also unkind. And I don't raise my child to be unkind, an unkind human being, then I would have respect for you instead of making excuses.
I'm not making excuses.
You did make excuses, because I didn't hear you say to me at any time, he's a nice young man, he tried to do the right thing. My daughter did the wrong thing. My daughter was not hospitalized. She did not seek doctor's counsel that day or the next day. She went out with her girlfriend, Julie, and her new boyfriend, Jason, and they hung out together until after midnight, and it was not the right thing to do when he was supposed to pick her up at 4 o'clock, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not, I'm speaking, and between 4 o'clock and midnight, she was not in an emergency room.
We did not have any idea when he would arrive to pick her up.
Madam, you are operating somewhere in La La Land. Your daughter knew he was going to pick her up at 4 o'clock.
Did you know that?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you did. Because you spoke to her and you were supposed to double date. So don't give me baloney. Let me see the receipts, please. Did you flunk your classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you leave school?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what happens when you do the wrong thing. You didn't give the flowers to anybody else, did you?
No, Your Honor.
You're even, my dear, going to pay for your own flowers because I think that your mother made an agreement with him to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $415. That's all. Thank you.
Samantha Cameron is suing ex-boyfriend Christopher Putz for the return of furniture and appliances, as well as rent money and a security deposit. Christopher claims he owes her nothing.
Miss Cameron, you and Mr. Potts were in a relationship. According to your complaint, you decided to relocate with him. You got a job opportunity in Florida. You went down to Florida, two of you found an apartment, you put down a deposit, first month's rent, and Mr. Potts went down to Florida before you did.
Correct.
When he got there, he had a change of heart. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you have a change of heart, sir?
Well, because at the time she wasn't actively looking for a job in Florida, and I didn't feel like she would be a real reliable person to share all the bills with.
So you were sort of looking for a solid business partner.
Well, I didn't want to put myself in a hole. It would have been easier for me to take care of myself versus me taking care of myself, another person, and a small child.
Because you have a daughter who was relocating with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Potts, how much money did she put down on the apartment?
I'm not sure exact dollar figure.
You know the exact dollar figure.
Yes, ma'am. It was $877.50.
So my question to you, Mr. Potts, is what arrangements did you make to get her back her $877?
Well, there really wasn't at first any arrangement because the money that she put down towards the apartment is basically money that I put towards the cost of the moving.
Well, because you were supposed to move.
Well, I was moving.
You both were moving.
Right. If we're both moving, then we both should be coming out of pocket for money.
Well, how much did you pay for all the moving of her stuff, sir?
All right, I had purchased their shipping containers where you load them up yourself. Well, originally I only needed one. The pods were originally $850 a piece. I had paid the $850, and to get an additional pod was $850, so $1,700.
Show me that you paid for $1,700, sir. Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I don't have receipts for that.
Where'd you think you were coming to today? To the beach?
Well, that was 7 months ago, so.
7 months ago is a minute, sir. So, I'm going to ask you again, what arrangements did you make to get her back her money, $877?
Well, I paid over $900 to ship her stuff back, which...
As well you should.
I don't agree.
Well, I don't give a rat's behind whether you agree or not. Whether you agree with me, Mr. Potts, is not particularly relevant in my life. That's why you come to court. I don't believe you, sir, that you paid $1,700 for a pod for you and for her.
For two of them. They're $850 a piece.
What I'm telling you, sir, is show me. Other than your great looks, Mr. Potts, what you have to do is have proof. Proof is a receipt, a paid bill for exactly what it was, and you don't have it.
No, I don't.
Right. You chose to breach the agreement that you had by telling her once she had sent down her stuff that you didn't want her to move there for your own reasons.
No, for the reasons that it was better for everybody.
Fine. Listen to me. That's a judgment that you made. Fine. But then, once you have made that judgment, what you have to do is make Miss Cameron whole. Whole.
Which I did by sending her belongings.
I'm speaking when my mouth moves, yours doesn't. By making Miss Cameron whole, you have to return her property to her at your expense. It would be untoward of you to think that you changed your mind and now you say you want your stuff back. You have to pay for the shipping of it back to New Jersey. That's ridiculous, Mr. Potts. Now, I believe him that he packed up your boxes and sent them back, that he spent money, as well he should, because it was his option to change his mind, thereby voiding the agreement that you had to move in together. Now, if you want these other items, washer, dryer, table, and chairs, you can make arrangements to get them at your expense. Do you understand? Because I don't think you really want.
That was part of our agreement.
Well, it's unfortunate. I don't know if I believe you. In any event, he owes you $877, which was your down payment. Have you sent it?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Send it. Judgment for the plaintiff, $877. Thank you. That's all.
19-year-old Chris Alford is suing his ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old Ashley Griffin, for a loan to pay her rent. Ashley says Chris gave her the money.
Mr. Alford, the defendant used to be your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you are no longer involved in a relationship, but at some point prior to your breaking up, you loaned her $300. You want that money back?
Yes. This was after we broke up. Like, we broke up, then she called me.
So you lent her the money after you were no longer together?
Yes.
When did you lend her the money, sir?
I sent it the 1st of July.
Tell me about that.
All right, we broke up with her when she came up.
She came up where?
To Philly. We was no longer seeing each other.
You live in Philadelphia?
Yes.
You live where?
Florida.
And when did she come to Philadelphia?
Like the beginning of June.
Who did she stay with?
Her mom, I guess.
Your mom lives in Philadelphia?
Outside of Philadelphia.
Stop moving up and down. When she came up to Philadelphia to visit her mother, and you, I assume.
I saw her a couple hours.
That's not
Were you
true, Your
still
Honor.
dating?
Then, yeah.
What caused you to stop seeing each other in a romantic way?
Chris Alford says ex-girlfriend Ashley Griffin owes for a loan to pay her rent. Chris also says Ashley is a two-timer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, she missed her flight, right? In the morning time, she missed her flight.
She missed her flight going back to Florida?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't know the exact date.
It was sometime in July.
He said you went up in June.
No, it was like the middle of July sometime.
Did you miss your flight going home?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were in Philadelphia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What happened when she missed her flight, sir?
She missed her flight, and she called some guy and was like, I missed my flight. It cost $50 or something to pay the balance or something. And I was like, who's that on the phone? And I turned around, whatever, because I was half asleep when all this happened. She hit me, whatever, like, oh, I missed my flight.
So what you're saying is she was sleeping over at your house?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, then you were with her more than just a couple of hours during this visit to Philadelphia.
Okay.
All right, so you decided you didn't want to see her anymore because she was talking to somebody else and borrowed $50 from somebody else. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Alford? Could we get to it, please?
All right.
Is that what happened?
Other stuff too, but that's what started it all.
And then this other young man sent you money or called up and said add the ticket on his credit card and you went home.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you needed this $300, Miss Griffin.
Can I start from the beginning?
No.
Well, because I was going back home in July. So I had already bought my ticket and I was short for my rent. So I asked him for the money. I didn't say, can I borrow it? I asked him, can I have it? And he said, yeah. And he gave me the money.
So you needed the $300 for rent because you had spent the money.
But I was off. And we spent more than just that night together. He picked me up from the airport, and I was with him that day, and we went to go pick up his witness.
Tell me about when you called him and asked him for the money.
Well, I called him, and I pretty much said I needed the money for the rent because I was short.
Where were you when he gave you the money?
I was at my house.
In Florida?
Yes, ma'am. He Western Unioned me the money.
You have the receipt for Western Union?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Alford, I'd like you to tell me about the conversation that you had with her about the $300, please.
All right, I'm in the car, me and 3 friends of mine, and my phone rings. And I put it on speaker because I couldn't drive and talk. So I'm talking to her, and she's like, oh, my God, I don't have enough money to pay for my rent, this, and that. And I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, like, what am I supposed to do about that? Then she said, would it be possible if you could send me $300 and I will pay you back next Friday on my paycheck? Everybody in the car heard her say that.
Don't say what they heard. Did you hear it?
I heard it clearly. It's right here. The phone's right here. I was listening, talking like, all right, well, I can't spare it. You know what I mean? So you got to send it back next Friday. And you can see on Western Union, date was July 1st. If she just now said she was in Philly.
You're absolutely right, sir. It was July 1st.
I said he sent me the money July 1st. I said I went home after July 1st.
Are you telling me you went home and then continued your relationship with him after he sent you the money?
Yes, we were still together, so I don't know why he's saying we weren't. We were together at that time. Why would I stay at his house? Why would he pick me up from the airport if we weren't together?
He says it was in June.
It was in June. That's why you was at my house. It was in June, man.
Oh, you must have your airline ticket.
I don't have it.
Who was this other person that you called for $50?
All right, when he came down, he knew about the guy already.
Don't tell me what he knew. I didn't ask you for a whole story. I said, who was this other person?
It was some other guy that I was messing with.
So now what you want me to believe is he sent you $300 to help you cover your rent. Then you went up to Philadelphia to see him. But at the time that he sent you the $300 for the rent, you were messing around with somebody else that he didn't know about. Is that right?
No, he knew about him. We were only like
friends.
No, we weren't friends. We were more than friends. But at that time, I knew I could depend on him.
You have to learn that you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You have to stop relying on people, and you have to stop using people. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Monica Roth says former friend Justin Judy backed her car into another vehicle. Justin claims it was a drunken Monica who was behind the wheel.
Ms. Roth, it is your claim that you were at a party, the defendant was at a party. He moved your car, he did so without asking you, and he dented it. The defendant says that it was you who were drunk, moved your own car, and dented it yourself. That's your defense, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was this party at your house?
Yes, it was, ma'am.
How many people did you have at the party?
20, 25.
How old are you?
I'm 20, going on 22, 21 right now.
Well, hopefully if I let you, you'll be 22. Right now you're 21. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live with my witness here and another person.
So you have 2 roommates?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in construction.
What night of the week was this?
I think it was a Friday night or, yeah, Friday night.
Okay. And did you know Miss Roth before your party?
Yes, I did.
All right, Miss Roth, were you present when the defendant got into your car?
No, I was not. I was inside.
Who was?
My witness, Tita, was in the car.
Tell me your name.
Tita Chewin.
Miss Chewin, did you know the defendant prior to this evening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was there drinking at the party?
Yes.
Any drugs at the party?
No.
None that you saw?
Not that I saw.
But drinking?
Yes.
All right, tell me what happened with the car.
We went outside to...
Who's we?
The 3 of us. We went outside to grab CDs, and it was a summer night, so we had tank tops on and skirts, and we wanted to grab shirts to put over. So we went out to the car, she grabbed her CDs, I grabbed my shirt, I put it on, she went back inside the house, and she left the keys for me. So I was in the passenger seat getting ready to leave, and he claims the truck in front of him needed to be moved, so he hopped in, and I told him, Monica...
Okay, he said that the car that you were in had to be moved?
Yes.
Okay.
The car was on accessories, but the engine wasn't on. He started it and...
Don't speak!
He started it and slammed on the gas without even looking behind him. And before he started the car, I told him, Monica would not want you driving her car. It's brand new. She doesn't even let us drive her car. I've known her since elementary school. We're really close. And he just slammed on the gas without even looking behind him, and I told him, don't you want to look behind you? And next thing I know, there's a big crash, and he jumps out of the car.
Did he say anything to you?
No, he just jumped out.
Did he put the car in park and jump out? Did he turn it off?
He pulled it up really quick so she wouldn't know, and then jumped out of the car.
So first he went backwards.
Yep, and then he pulled it up.
So he changed gears?
Yes.
I just want to go step by step with me. So let's go step by step. First, it was in reverse.
Yep, and he slammed on the gas, hit the car, was like startled, and then he pulled it up back to where she had been parked, so it looked like her car wasn't moved, and hopped out of the car really quick.
And didn't say anything to you?
No.
So what did you do?
I was in shock, and then she came in, ran up to the window because she was across the street.
Tell me your name.
Keely Hartman.
Ms. Hartman, did you witness this?
I just heard a crash. I didn't see it actually happen.
But you heard the sound?
I heard the sound.
Did you see the defendant?
I saw someone running away from the car, and that's when I ran over immediately because I saw it was Monica's car.
But you didn't see who it was?
I didn't.
Didn't see a face, or you didn't see whether it was a man, woman?
I saw a shadow running from the car.
Okay. Did the defendant say anything to you when you went back inside?
I peeked inside the window of the driver's side door, and I saw her in the passenger seat, and I looked and I saw nobody in the driver's seat, and I go, where's Monica? And Tita said she's in the house. That's when I looked over and I saw Justin crouching over by the bumper, and he said to me, don't tell her it's not a big deal, it's not even noticeable. And that's when I ran inside and grabbed Monica.
Okay, so he said to you, don't tell her it's not a big deal, it's not even noticeable.
Yes.
How long have you known the defendant?
A couple years.
Have had any problem with him?
No.
You like him?
Do I like him?
Yeah, I mean, like him as a person. He's okay, isn't he?
Yeah.
What about you?
Before this incident, I thought he was great.
Thought he was great. Never had any problem with
Nope.
him. Thank you. You can be seated.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's your turn. Did you get a turn?
All those girls are lying.
Stop! Listen to me. Listen to me very, very carefully, sir. I make a judgment as to who's lying. You have the opportunity, if you wish, to explain to me your version of the events that evening.
Okay.
I assume you brought this gentleman because he has something to contribute to this case.
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Your name is?
James.
James, you have a last name.
Johnson.
How old are you?
22.
Do you have parents?
Yes.
Do they like you?
Sometimes.
I want you to think about them when making a decision to testify, James.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Okay. Let me hear.
Okay, in my defense. July 9th, we were having these girls showed up to my house intoxicated. Had parked her car behind a truck of my friend's, asked her to move it. She moved it, backed into the car that was behind her, which was the black one.
And you saw all this?
Yeah, I was out in the street telling everybody was about ready to leave. The whole part of the heart, you know.
And
it
you
was
saw all of this?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Go ahead.
I was in the street talking to a bunch of friends, and you know, that happened, that transpired. And then she decided to leave belligerently, circle the block, and then come back, screaming, raving, whatever. She was intoxicated and all that stuff.
So you had a party at your house. Did you serve alcohol,
No,
or did the
not to
people
them.
bring out? Shh. Did you serve alcohol, or did the people bring alcohol?
They brought their own.
You just provided the site.
Yes, I just presided the area for people to party. But everybody at my house was 21, minus these 3 girls.
You mean I just happened to be fortunate enough to pick the 3 girls who were underage at your house?
Yes, ma'am. But they were intoxicated before they showed up to my house.
You want to speak?
Sure.
Who do you live with?
Justin, Judy, and another roommate.
So you lived together. And how long have you lived together?
For about 1.5 years.
You know these 3 girls?
I know them from being at my house that night. I'd never even known them before.
What time did the party start?
Between 9 and 10 o'clock.
When did you start drinking?
Between 9 and 10 o'clock.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
What time did these girls arrive?
I'm not totally sure on that. I actually did not see them arrive. I didn't see them arrive. I didn't know they were there until well after they were there.
And what time was that?
Between 10 and 11 o'clock.
So the party was only going on for an hour?
Possibly.
What do you mean possibly?
I'm not sure. It was.
How many
a while
beers
back.
did you have between 9 and 10 o'clock?
Couple.
Couple could be 2 or 5.
Between 2 and 5.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
You work for the same place?
No. I install windows in residential housing. He seals driveways.
Seals them. Doesn't steal them. He seals them.
Yes.
So now, I want you to tell me what you saw.
Okay, I was...
No!
Sorry. I was at the party, and I was walking out.
What time?
It was late. I don't know.
Give me an idea.
Probably between 12 and 1.
Okay, so between 12 and 1. So let's say between 9 and 10 you had between 2 and 5 beers.
Yes.
And I would assume that once you had between 2 and 5, you lost track.
Nah, I didn't finish my 12-pack.
How much was left over?
2 or 3.
So maybe you had 10 beers.
Yeah, probably.
So now tell me what happened after midnight.
Well, after I came outside, I had seen Monica get in the car, back up, and bump into the other car. And it wasn't that big of an accident, so nobody really made a big deal out of it. And I seen her get out of the car, have a little conversation with him, and then I seen her get back in the car and drive away. It didn't happen all that quick, but that's the sum of it. Yes.
You may be seated.
Thank you.
Don't you feel like a jerk? Let me see the estimate on the car, please. Have a picture of the car? Yep. What kind of a car did he hit?
Cougar. It was a black car, that's all.
Cougar?
I'm pretty sure it was a Mercury Cougar.
You know who it belonged to?
It was this kid, Jeremy, and he didn't even tell him that he hit his car.
But did you tell him?
He came out, and I think Keely or someone told him. I wasn't.
Who told the Cougar that his car got hit? Anybody?
I didn't. Well,
Nobody told him.
I don't think I didn't tell him. He heard from the people inside that someone's car had been hit, so he ran outside and saw that it was his car and was furious with Justin.
Is the Cougar man a friend of yours?
Yes, he's a very good friend of mine, actually.
How come he's not here?
He's
How come he's not here?
working.
Is he overseas? Is he fighting in the military?
He couldn't
Huh?
make it.
Couldn't make it.
No.
Too bad for you. He's a very good friend of yours. seemed to me a very good friend. Instead of bringing this one over here, I certainly would have brought the person whose car, I'm speaking. I would have brought the person whose car was hit to testify that they know that it wasn't you who hit their car, it was somebody else who hit their car. Put your hand down.
He's the only one that saw it, though. The guy who owned the car did not see
You see how
anything.
many witnesses they have here, too? You see what you have on your side? Stop shaking your foot. It's making me nervous.
The guy whose car that she hit was not around and did not see it, did not know it happened until later in the night.
Your Honor, I have phone calls from Justin saying he will pay me the money and that he's so sorry that he did it, and he is doing everything he can to get me my money, and he just wants to pay cash and he doesn't want to go to court.
You have them here?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I'd like to
I can
hear
call
that.
my voicemail.
Oh, sure, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, please. It's her phone. She's gonna. There's two of them.
Ooh, I love to be right.
You've pressed an incorrect key. To disconnect, press 1. To record your message, press 2. Sorry you were having trouble. Please try again.
It's okay.
Can I try one more time?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
I have all the time in the world.
Sorry.
Oh, just a second. Before you do that, before we connect, you want to say anything else to me, Justin?
Like what?
Like I may have made that
I did that to help her out because it was on my property.
I'm speaking. Is there anything else that you want to say to me before we try to connect with this phone call?
I've said what I've had to say.
All right.
You've got my defense statement, so I'm sticking with that. That's what it is.
Go.
First saved message sent Friday, August 20 a.m.
Monica, it's Justin. I got your text message. I'm not trying to avoid you. I've been busy working a lot. We're really busy right now. Plus, I have another job. Trying to work as much as possible to get you your money. I do want to work for
Shut
up! I don't want to take this shit to court. I'm not trying to avoid you. So, I don't know. I got to work till midnight tonight. Give me a call whenever.
And I have one more. Resave. The next message sent Friday, August 5th at 9:11 p.m.
Monica, I'm calling you again because I'm trying to set up some sort of payment plan with you because I've been working a lot. I have 2 jobs. And yeah, so call me back and let me know what's up. I don't want to take the court. I'd rather pay you in cash and get it dealt with. Call me back.
End.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $967.53. That is for the repair on the car, damage to the vehicle. If I could add another couple of thousand to that for just being 2 wise guys, I would. You're an embarrassment, and you're an embarrassment to yourself and your parents. That's all.
56-year-old Candace Harris is suing her ex-boyfriend, 32-year-old Frank Boswell, for an unpaid loan and for trading in a Camaro that didn't belong to him. Candace claims Frank is a scammer.
Ms. Harris, you met the defendant online. Is that how you met him?
Correct, Your Honor.
And according to what I read, you began a relationship with him, and at some point, according to you, you let him borrow a car that you had that you weren't using.
Correct.
And he had the car for many months. The relationship soured. You went to get the car and found out that Mr. Boswell had forged your name to the title of the car and either sold or traded it in for something else.
That's correct.
You also claim that you loaned him some money before this in 2005, and I'm telling you right now, Ms. Harris, I'm not entertaining that. Because according to what you said in your complaint, you sent him this money with the understanding that when he got back on his feet, he would pay you back.
Correct.
That's what you said. Mr. Boswell is going to tell me he never got back on his feet. That's not a loan. It has to be objective, not subjective. Mr. Boswell will tell some people he's on his feet and tell other people that he's not on his feet. You have children, sir?
Yes, I do.
How many?
1.
That child live with you?
No.
You pay child support?
Yes.
As much as the mother of that child wants?
No.
Right. Because you're not really on your feet. See what I mean? Things are very predictable in this life. I could have written this script before I even asked him a question. Now, when did you let Mr. Boswell borrow your car?
He came to see me on September 29th in 2005.
It was at my house for many months, being unused.
So you let Mr. Boswell borrow it. What was the arrangement?
The arrangement was that he would use my car. He was trying to get his career started in music, rap business, and it would be a nice car for him to drive with a little bit more prestige maybe than what the vans he had. And we never discussed when I would get it back. However, in March...
After he got on his feet.
Yes. In March, I discovered there was other women involved in his life besides me who were also helping him out financially till he got on his feet.
I could have also told you that.
Yes, ma'am. And it escalated to the point where more and more women started showing up. On June 20th was when he sold the car. I have the documents here that show
Now,
it was...
Mr. Boswell, how much did you sell the car for, sir?
I actually didn't sell the car. I traded the car.
How much did they give you for it?
They just traded me another car straight across.
Really?
Yeah,
But you forged her name to the title.
I did that.
You can't do that, Mr. Boswell.
Why would someone give me a car and give me the title if they loaned it to me?
Who paid for the insurance?
She did.
And whose name was the insurance in?
Isn't it hers?
You got my message? It's her car. If she meant to pass title to you, she would have signed the title over to you, and then you would have insured the car in your name.
Then why,
Now!
Then why did she give me the title in
Are
the
you
first place?
asking me a question, smarty pants?
Yes,
Don't you
I am.
ask me a question, sir. I ask the questions, you give the answers. I want to tell you, you may find a lot of women that find you attractive. I am not one of them.
No. I can dig that.
I'm glad you can. What kind of car do you have now?
1990 Lexus LS400.
How many miles did it have on it when you took
276.
it? 276
Yes.
miles? Is that your car?
No,
ma'am.
her car.
My car
her car was a Camaro.
It had 126,000 miles. It was a 95 Camaro.
When I traded it, it had 143,000 miles on it.
What's the blue book value of your car, madam?
It is, Your Honor. It's $4,025.
Is that in good, fair?
That's the medium. It's in the good condition.
Okay. Now, Miss Harris, you seem like an intelligent lady.
I would hope so.
You know the old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck? Did you ever hear that expression?
Yes, ma'am.
If it walks like a deadbeat and looks like a deadbeat, it's a deadbeat. You're supposed to know the difference at your stage in life.
Correct.
Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
Daycare provider Samantha Burks says former client Lillian Linton owes for breaking their contract. Lillian claims Samantha left her kids unattended in a parked car. She is countersuing for child neglect.
I've read your complaint, which alleges that the defendant breached a written contract that you had with her for child care. At some point, she terminated your services, you say, without good cause. She owes you some money. And in addition, she filed false charges against you with Child Protective Services, which required them to investigate your home, investigate whether or not you should continue to be licensed as a child care provider.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Linton says that she took her children out of your care because you placed them in a situation that could have been dangerous. And she is counterclaiming for the potential harm that you did to her children. So when did she take the children out of your care?
On the 1st of July.
Tell me what monies you allege she owes you.
I'm alleging she owes me all that is paid through the county. She called me and gave me a 2-week notice and didn't fulfill it.
She gave you 2 weeks' notice when?
The day after in question, I guess it would be the 2nd of July.
On or about July 1st?
Well, may I tell you a little bit previously? Because I had not been keeping her kids. The end of school had come, and so we started making arrangements again for me to start keeping her children again. Miss Linton leaves her children home alone. I only was keeping her youngest son.
Shh. Don't interrupt her. I just want to know what happened on 7/1.
Okay. The day in question, I picked her children up.
How many children?
I picked all 4 of them up.
How old are they?
They're 13, 9, 6, and 1.
Is that your son?
Yes.
How old are you?
12.
Is that the one that you said was 13?
Yes, I was told he was 13.
You're 12?
Yes.
12, 9, 6, and 1?
12, 8, 6, and 1.
Okay. Go ahead. So you picked up her children, 4 children.
I picked up her children, and the day in question, I had a class I have to take. There are certain requirements through the county that you have to take classes. So I had a class. Gloria McMillan's a friend of mine, and I have her watch them. She's watched her kids many times before.
Is Miss McMillan a licensed daycare provider?
No.
Are you permitted under your contract with the state to leave the children with unlicensed daycare providers?
Yes.
You are?
That I'm aware of. I've never...
Shh. Listen, I don't need any help, and this isn't a tea dance. Not that you're aware of.
Not that I'm not aware of, exactly.
Oh, okay. So, Ms. Burks, did you have to take classes in order to be a child care provider?
Yes.
Did they do a background check?
Yes.
Criminal background check. They did fingerprinting?
Yep.
Photographing?
Yep.
So you went through a process before the government says we will pay you money to watch children.
To get my license, you go through that process.
That's right. To get your license as a child care provider, you must go through this process.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't go through the process.
Okay.
So nobody has to tell you that she's not permitted to take care of the children.
No.
I'm telling you that unless you are vetted by the state so that you can get a license, you can't give over the care of 4 children to somebody else.
I understand that now.
Good. What happened next?
Well, I haven't even gotten to the beginning of that day because I would like to tell you the whole day.
I want you to tell me what happened when you left the children in a car. That's what this is all about.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Well, then get there.
Okay. On the day of question, I picked her children up. I went to the county building, had some paperwork to drop off for my father. I take care of my father, who was terminally ill, dying of cancer. After that, I went and picked up Gloria McMillan to watch the children for me. On the way home, I stopped past the party store. Getting out of the car, I said, guys, you guys wait right here. I'm going to run in the party store real quick, let my daughter pick out her party invitations. And we proceeded into the store. I left her children in the car. And on my way out of the car...
Where was she?
She went into the store to speak to a friend of hers that worked at the register in the store.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 2 now.
The daughter who was picking up?
Yeah. I have a very bright 2-year-old.
Just a second.
What 2-year-old would be in?
I'll give you this last opportunity. Then you're going out. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So let me understand this. First, you went to take care of some business for your father, who you take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And you took the children with you.
Mm-hmm.
Had this lady been watching the children yet?
No, she was not with me.
Just a second. Who was with the children when you dropped the paperwork off?
I was with the children.
Did they come into the county building with
Actually,
you?
no, they stayed outdoors and played. I never thought any of this to be a problem at all, Miss Linton.
Well, Miss Burks, it's a problem. That's what we're doing now. I'm going over the day.
I understand
I'm going over the day because it's getting worse as we go
forward. No,
forward.
this is already worse. I understand what I did was completely wrong.
Well, if you understand that, then, Miss Burks, I don't quite understand why you're here. Because from what I read in the complaint...
Miss Linton is slandering my name.
Just a second. If what you're telling me is you picked up her children and you had your 2-year-old in the car, you went to the county building.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take your 2-year-old inside with you?
To the county building, yes, ma'am, and her son.
Shh. And her 12-year-old or her 1-year-old?
Her littlest son. They stayed outside and played basketball.
You went inside and you took your 2-year-old and her 1-year-old into the county building. And her other 3 children stayed outside alone.
And played on the playground.
I don't care where they played. They stayed outside alone.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you come back to the car and you went and picked up this lady.
Yes.
And then 2 adults, your daughter, went inside to a store and you left her 4 children in the car, including the 1-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long were you in the store?
Maybe 5 minutes.
So that's what the case is about. It was the next day that she called and gave you notice.
Right, but that's not what she called me and said the next day.
What did she call you and say the next day?
She called me on the phone. When I answered, I said, hello. She says, I'm giving you a 2-week notice because you have a problem with my son. I said, no, ma'am, I don't have a problem with your son. Your son is a child. You're a liar.
No, no, no. Listen to me. Miss Linton, don't speak to her. Okay, go ahead.
I said, no, ma'am, I don't have a problem with your son. Your son is a child. Your son has a problem with following adult supervision. And this is not the first incident that I had an issue with her son. I said to her, your children were throwing rocks, and I asked them to stop. When I asked them to stop, her son looked over at me and said, I'm not throwing rocks, just like that, with a handful of rocks. So I said, I'll just call your mom. When I called her on the phone, she said, let me see if I can remember her exact words. They know I don't play that. I'm going to beat that when they get home. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know it's not acceptable in my house. People have nice things around here. I don't want to be responsible for anything that happens. And that was it. We got off the phone. Later that evening, I had to have my father rushed to the hospital. I was under a lot of stress. Her kids were still outdoors, not paying me any mind, not listening to anything I said. And when she got there, you could see the agitation in her face, you know.
Where does your father live?
He lives with me.
Ms. Burks, your plate is too full.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Now, when you accept the responsibility of taking care of someone else's children, you have to take care of them sometimes better than their own parents take care of them.
I did.
No, no, no. Listen to me. If you have 5 children,
I made a very big mistake, and I would never do it again.
You have 5. Listen to me. I'm not even going there. The car, totally, 100% unacceptable. And she had every right to call Child Protective Services and say, you left 4 children in the car, including a 1-year-old child, and I'm complaining about that.
I never said she was wrong about that. What she's wrong about is that she wants to point the finger at me when she's a bad mother herself. She leaves her children home daily.
Miss Burks, listen to me. If we were involved in some other forum, I would say to you, fine, we can vent upon who's a better mother, who's a bad mother, who's a good mother. We're here because you sued her for 2 things. For money for child care and for filing a false report to Child Protective Services. Whether she's a good mother, whether she's a bad mother, whether she's a wicked stepmother, whatever she is, she did the right thing by calling Child Protective Services to report that you had left the children alone. Your plate is very full. When you accept children into your home as a child care provider, you're supposed to do more with those children than just be a body there. You're supposed to play with them. You're supposed to provide them with activity. With
Are you asking me if I did these
listen
things,
to
or
me.
you just telling me what I'm supposed
What
to
I'm
do?
telling you is, if you have a 2-year-old toddler yourself and a father who is terminally ill with cancer that you're caring for in your home, it is impossible to set up a home, your home, to be an appropriate and adequate child care provider.
Well, Judge Judy, that's your opinion. I disagree. And my father was not diagnosed with lung cancer when I took care of her children. Through the process of taking care of her children, he was diagnosed with lung cancer.
You told me the story, madam. You said I had to drop some papers off for my father who was dying of cancer, who I was also caring for. You told that to me.
But you're saying to me...
I'm saying to you,
in general,
with
or
your
that
own
day?
children, that day.
Okay, yes, ma'am, okay.
That day, that's all you need is one day. That's all you need is one day to miss a child. You know, they missed a couple of children on another coast, and they ended up in the trunk of a car.
I actually investigated myself. There's a lot of bad things that happen to children that get left in cars, and I'm very aware of it.
Absolutely. Ended up in trunks of a car, and they didn't get them in time.
Do it again.
So what
I would never do it again.
So you don't belong in court, Miss Burks?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Miss Linton is going around town saying bad things about me. I am not a bad person.
Just a second. If you have information or witnesses that she's saying anything about you scandalous that have to do with other than your child care abilities, I'll be more than happy to hear witnesses to that.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know what, if she's saying things about you, about your personal life, that you have a disease, that you're a thief.
No, she's just basically in a nutshell saying that I'm a bad person. Her exact words was that I'm not cracked up to all that I'm supposed to be.
Listen to me. That's her opinion. And she can say that, and not all speech is actionable in a court. What you did as a child care provider was wrong, so you have no basis to sue her for either the money that you claim she owes you or for calling Child Protective Services. None. She's got a counterclaim. Yes, I do. Your counterclaim is that she left your 4 children in the car.
Yes.
Were any of them hospitalized?
No, they weren't
Just listen to me. I have questions. Any of them treated by a physician that day or the next day?
No.
Okay, so they suffered no injury. Who are you?
I had the kids the following day, and the 1-year-old was throwing up 2 to 3 times.
You're a liar. And I have never seen this one before. She did not have the 1-year-old the next day. I kept her son overnight.
I am a licensed
I kept her son overnight.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. So far, you have no case.
That's fine. I don't care if I don't have a case.
Good.
She will not sit here on national TV and lie about me. I kept her son overnight, you liar.
Miss Burks, I've already explained in a calm fashion why I'm dismissing your case.
That's fine.
Miss Linton, you have no counterclaim against her. You have no proof that her actions caused illness to any of your children. You were perfectly within your rights to take them out of her care. And I'm speaking. I'm speaking. And you were perfectly within your rights to call Child Protective Services to report the neglect. Other than that, you have no claim against her because her actions, while they placed your children in potential harm's way, did not cause any injury to your children. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
She puts
That's
her
all.
children
Step
in
out.
harm's way every day.
You're a liar.
Home alone.
Liar.
Parties are accused. You may step out.
That's it.
Carrie Van Druff is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brian Dodds, for money loaned when he fell on hard times. Brian says Carrie offered him the money.
Bird, I have a couple of questions for you. Would you say that 100 times as many women loan money to men in our experience as the other way around?
At least.
I don't understand why women are always loaning money to men. I don't get it. They're supposed to be bigger. They're supposed to be stronger. They're supposed to be the hunters. They're supposed to be king of the jungle. And they're always walking around with their hand out. What I still don't understand is, I've asked the women over and over again, why do you want to give this guy money? You know? And I'm not able to get an answer, but what I'm going to try to do from now on is to get the answers from men who look as if they're ordinary guys. Why did you take money from her, Mr. Dodds?
Your Honor, at the time, it was the case that I was very, very short.
Why were you short?
I went through a pretty nasty divorce, and my ex-wife was taking me to court about every other week, and my lawyer was just killing me in fees. And at the time, I mean, it was coming up to Christmas time, everything. I was extremely short-handed of cash. That's all there is to it.
What do you mean it was coming up to Christmas? What does the time of year have to do with it?
I've got 2 daughters. I was really concerned how Christmas was going to turn out.
So you wanted to buy Christmas presents for your daughter, so you borrowed money?
No, that's not what happened, Your Honor. She knew that I was short of cash, and she just straight out just offered it, and I did refuse it, that no, I couldn't ask that of you. And she said, that's what friends do, and I'd like to do that for you. And it was with reluctance that I took it. I'm not one that, likes to take handouts.
How long after that, Mr. Dodds, did you and the plaintiff stop seeing each other?
Maybe 2 months.
Was that a mutual decision or your decision?
It was my decision to stop seeing her.
Well, if it was your decision and you're a moral person, because clearly you were worried about your daughters coming up and not having Christmas presents in December, why didn't you start to pay her back?
Shortly after I told her that, we were going to stop seeing each other.
Did you tell her, or did you send her a letter?
I sent her an email, I believe, actually,
Sent her an
and I
email.
kind of explained to her.
That wasn't until February.
Go ahead.
And I explained to her why, decided not to see her anymore. And,
right.
And it was just shortly thereafter that she became very, very nasty, and she accused me of giving her an S. So it really concerned me, so I started going to different doctors, and I had some tests done to make sure that that was not the case. I was pretty concerned about that. So now I've got doctor bills that I have incurred because of her being spiteful or vindictive or whatever reason.
So in the email where you explained that you were breaking up with her, Mr. Dodds, did you say to her, and I know that I took some money from you, and I know it wasn't a loan at the time, but I consider it my moral obligation to give you the money back, so I'm going to start sending it to you. Was that included in your email?
I don't recall at the time.
Let's say no.
No.
Let's say it wasn't included in your email. Now, how do you think that that made her feel? She gets this email from you after she's given you this money because she was a good friend, and she insisted on helping you out so that your girls would have a Christmas. And then you send her this Dear John email, because we're living in the 21st century. And the email has nothing to do with her $510. So she gets vindictive and nasty. That's what women do. That's what they do. You're lucky all your pants weren't cut in half. Ms. Vandroff.
Yes.
You have 10 seconds to convince me that this was a loan and not, I want to help you because you're my friend. And if you want to say, I can't do it, I'm more than willing to hear it. I have humiliated him sufficiently. What's your pleasure?
Well, first of all this started about the same day that I did give him the money. He made a down payment on some land as well. Now, my problem is why in the world did he make a down payment on land if he couldn't afford his rent?
When did you find out about that?
I believe it was the same day or just before I gave him the check.
And you continued to date him?
Unfortunately.
You continued to share his home with him for a while.
I wasn't living with him.
I don't care whether you were living with him or not. You get my drift,
Yes.
madam?
Yes.
That's also what women do. They'll make excuses. They'll go through all kinds of mental gymnastics to justify bad behavior. So, you've had your 10 seconds and you haven't convinced me that this was a loan.
I don't feel it was a loan.
It wasn't. It was a gift.
I mean, I gave him the money, and I did want to go ahead and help him, but he did send me an email stating that he would repay it.
Oh, let me see that. I would, listen, I would love to, in addition to humiliating him, give you a judgment.
And so if it was not a loan, why would he send me the email?
Oh, fine. Wednesday, April 20th. I will also be paying you back. If it's in installments, that's the best I can do right now. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. At that time, I'd tell her just about anything just to get her off my back.
Fine. Well, that's great. Well, that's what you told her. You said I'd be paying you back even in installments. So you didn't start?
No, ma'am, as far as I'm concerned, I don't owe her that money.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $510. You acknowledged the debt, sir. You said paying you back. That's all. Step out.
Jody Marone is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Matson, for a loan to reinstate his driver's license. Jody says Thomas has 9 DUIs.
He used to be your boyfriend. It's your claim that he owes you some money. You paid off some fees for him, took out a loan to do it. He says it was very nice of you, but he told you that he couldn't pay you back, and it was a gift, right?
Right.
How old are you?
31.
What do you do for a living?
Work at a sawmill.
How long have you worked there?
A year and a half.
How much do you earn?
$13.50. Not very much.
Try to keep your voice up. I'm old.
Not very much.
$13.50 an hour.
Yes.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Marone?
I'm a registered nurse.
Who do you live with?
Me and my children.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Aside from you, who supports your children?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
From your work?
Yes.
You have any children, Mr. Matson?
Yes.
How many?
1.
Who supports that child?
Me and her.
So you have a child together?
Yes.
How old is that child?
She'll be 2 August 17th.
He doesn't pay me anything.
You don't live together?
No.
Is there a court order of support?
Yes.
How much?
It's almost $600 a month. It's just started.
I haven't received anything.
Just a second. When did it start?
I just got served the papers a few weeks ago.
Prior to that, how much were you giving Miss Marone for your support of your child?
When we were split up?
Yes.
Nothing.
And how long were you split up?
It's been like 4.5, 5 months.
How do you expect your daughter to eat?
He says that I'll take care of it.
How did you expect her to eat if you weren't giving her any money?
I had enough money to live myself.
Who cares? If you don't have enough money to live yourself, you don't make another baby.
Exactly.
So you answered my question, and my question was, she supports her 3 children, and you pay no support, at least for the last 6 months.
I talked to an attorney, and an attorney told me not to give her nothing until it was court ordered.
So your attorney said to you, you don't have any responsibility towards this child until a court tells you you have responsibility. Is that right?
They'll determine.
No, just a second. According to you, the thrust of what your attorney said to you was, you don't have any responsibility to pay support for your child until a court tells you you have responsibility. Right?
There will be back support.
You've been working at the sawmill for a year.
Year and a half.
Who owns the sawmill?
Dave LePage.
Mr. LePage says to you, we're going to pay everybody once a month, and you work for your month. And then he says to you, you know what? I may be going into bankruptcy. I'm not paying you. Let a court tell me that I owe you money. And in case I don't go into bankruptcy, it would be wise for you to continue working. And maybe next month I'll pay you. Next month comes around and he says, you know what? I'm still not going to pay you. How are you supposed to take care of yourself?
I don't know.
Your daughter is 2. She shouldn't have to think about how she's going to take care of herself, sir. That's the job of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Both parents. Now, what bills did she pay that you couldn't pay? Take a deep breath. Look at me. What bills did she pay that you couldn't pay?
She paid my fines and my reinstatement.
What fines?
DWI fines.
So you have an alcohol problem.
Yes.
And how many tickets have you gotten for DUI? And how much did she have to take out in order to pay off those fines to keep you behind out of jail?
I think it was around $4,000.
So this is what I have, Mr. Matson. I have somebody who doesn't pay child support. I have somebody who has 3 children who works and supports her children. And I have somebody who's an alcoholic who can't cover his own fines, but who thrusts that responsibility onto the providing parent. What do you think I should do with that?
I didn't ask her to pay him.
You mean the figure just came from the DUI fairy? The information on how to get this accomplished came from some crystal ball, from some seance that she had?
She wanted me to have my driver's license so I wouldn't get in any further trouble.
You know what the problem is? You know what I'm going to tell you what the problem is. She appears to be a rather intelligent woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she has a credible profession, right?
Yeah.
And she picked this loser. Not only did she pick this loser, she picked this loser and had a child with him, thereby continuing this gene pool that's getting us all into trouble in this country. You understand from gene pools, don't you? You're a nurse. Figure it out. Was he a drunk when you met him?
Not when I met him. He drank, but...
You know, but for the fact that they're his fines, they're his DUIs, it's part of his punishment, you almost deserve it. You know that.
Yes.
The only problem is you have 2 other children, and you brought this loser into your household and into your family with 2 other children.
Yeah.
That's a mistake. Don't do it again. How much does he owe you?
$3104.76.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.